I need you more. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tonight's Last Call. I am Derik Melinda, joined by the illustrious Mr. Aaron Smith, and of course, the beautiful, the sexy, the amazing Bob Bumbar. Bob, you looking swole? You been getting in the gym, Bob?
A little bit, and just cutting back because I haven't been drinking. So I don't eat as bad, and no drinking, and I've been sleeping good.
Yeah.
Ever since my second anxiety attack,
right?
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on sleeping.
Right.
And I've been sleeping like almost 8 hours.
And that's the lesson of today. You having a YouTube channel will give you anxiety attacks.
Checks out.
Checks out. Shout out to everybody here. We've got some of our old favorites are in the chat. I missed a couple of you.
I see one.
We've got we got London. We've got Multiverse DM. Bruno Gossamer is here. Thank you, Gossamer. Still supporting us there with that awesome adventurer badge. Appreciate you. Our good friend and ally, longtime supporter, Mr. Richard Camp is in the chat as well. I see Voldo. Shark Magician, Mikey the Goat, some random guy, and Ken. Hello to all.
Some random guy.
As we speak, we are currently like 5 subs away.
So if you did not like and subscribe to this video,
which you probably have.
Probably should do that.
But so technically we're not at 10,000, but we will be.
Maybe tonight.
Yeah, we might be tonight.
Just need 5 more experience points to level.
Right.
Do a couple shots.
Yeah.
Get those margaritas lined up.
Yeah. We were joking before. We used to play D&D, okay, like a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. This is like when I was in
like most of our life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm like talking about like during high school, or actually post high school. Well, we played D&D in high school too, but
all these are true.
But 3rd edition came out in 2000.
Yes.
And we were graduated from high school by then.
Yes.
And I was in college, and everybody who stayed behind, who didn't leave to go to school, was either working or we're going to school locally. And we used to play D&D all the time. Like, because again, I went to school locally.
You would play all night.
So we would get together Wednesday nights, Friday nights. Well, Friday, like as soon as work ended, to like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Most people would end up sleeping on my floor. We'd wake up around noon, get more pizza, and play Saturday till 3 or 4 in the morning. And the only day that was like sacrosanct was like Sunday. We would sometimes do some Monday sessions, but like it was pretty routine to play Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
The crazy thing is you could really get some campaigning done that.
It's a good life.
No,
it takes us like a year to get through like a few pages.
I think that this has fundamentally screwed my concept of what a D&D campaign is, and especially when you, Mr. Smith, talk about like, I want to go back to the days where we were, a long campaign, 50, 60 sessions. Yeah, 50, 60 sessions used to take us like 10 weeks.
I mean, our 4th edition campaign was like 3 years, so
right.
That was mostly Fridays.
And so I don't even know if it was 3 years. I think it was probably I think it was like 2. But my point is,
30 levels is a lot.
30 levels is a lot. But it warped my sensation because you're right, Bob. Because we used to get together. I mean, not only was the game faster, even 3rd edition was faster than, let's say, Pathfinder 2nd edition. But it's like, oh, yeah, I felt like we used to get so much more done in a session. Well, yeah, because you were playing for 7 hours.
Yeah.
But
now you play for people for 3.
Routinely. Yeah. It is common for people.
Oh, yeah, we show my place nowadays around 7, and then we kind of bullshit or do in our business at least an hour.
At least an hour.
Right, because there's channel. We usually end up
business
stuff.
There's business, and then there's channel business.
And there's just shit talking.
100%.
Yeah,
it's like 8:39. We're kind of starting, and then bedtime at like midnight.
Yeah, yeah. Rich in the chat says, yeah, with the right motivation, you get through an entire adventure in like 16 hours.
That's truth.
In one night.
Which
we did
multiple times actually.
Several times. That happened at least twice.
Yes,
at least twice. We played
go to bed yet?
An entire module in one.
An entire module. Like it'd be like playing it'd be like playing Malevolence or your whatever in one your
March of the Dead.
March of the Dead, but bigger.
Yeah.
But in one night.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The game wasn't that fast. We just played forever. But the reason why I bring that up is because Aaron was saying how like, we only need a few more XP to level. It was routine that we would sit there having played. We played on Wednesday. We played on Friday. It's Saturday. We just played for 8 hours. It's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And you wore the experience points. And then someone goes, oh man, I'm like 10 short from level. And you're like, can we go find some orcs or something? like they were basically like, can we restart? Can turn the session back on so that we can just go get some more XPs just so we can level? And
just run a private one, just me and you.
yeah,
send me through.
Everybody else is gone. Like it's fine. We'll just hash this out.
My
me and
dice
you.
have not left the table.
Right, right. As long as I have not put away the dice.
Right.
As long as the dice have not been put away, the session is
It's
still
like chess. Okay, my dice have
right. It's not until I let go of the piece that the move is complete.
Exactly.
And this was, and again, it's crazy because the thirst for the level was real even then, and that was when we were playing 20 hours a week. So you can imagine my incredulousness when I hear about people who play 3-4 hour sessions 2x times a month, and they're like, yeah, we usually go 3, 4, 5 times, sessions between leveling, and I'm like, good God.
I get tired though at night. I don't know if I could, maybe I could obviously when I was 20 instead of
Right.
drinking, like I would just hang with you
20
guys.
years makes a difference.
Yeah. Now I'm like late 30s. I'm like I just ran March of the Dead session 1 from 7 to 11 p.m. and 11 p.m. I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of glad this session's ending. Not because it wasn't fun. It was actually a lot of fun, but like I was just tired. I'm like, I'm ready for bed. I got to wake up for work in the morning.
Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Bruno. I see people play for one session, and I go, man, how do you guys get anything?
1 hour.
Oh, sorry, 1 hour.
I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
Especially just the way I know that we play. It would take an hour just to decompress to
Well,
play.
let me challenge that.
Okay.
A lot of our root games were 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, but we're
PBT
showing up and bullshitting before the session. Like the audience saw the 2.5 hour session.
Sure,
they didn't
sure.
see the hour
Is
beforehand.
Bruno
where
talking
we're
about
eating.
a 1 hour like D&D campaign? Because PBTA runs way
That is
faster.
true. That is true.
You get a lot more than
that's true.
PBTA.
That is true. D&D is much slower.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, particularly like a PF2 or like a 4E, like 1 hour is literally not even enough time for an encounter.
That's what I'm thinking.
Like unless you start the session in the encounter, like you don't even have enough time to do it all.
Right. That's some hard framing. All right, guys, roll initiative.
In March of the Dead, you have multiple waves, and they're in the middle of wave 2. And I said, all right, I'm going to show you guys. They fortified some of their things. I said,
It's like, guys, I gotta take a nap.
well, no, I said, I'm going to show you the wave. It's coming to your door. The zombies are approaching, and that's a session. We'll pick up next time. And so they got to see what's coming, and then we're gonna, we're gonna start that way. But it ended perfectly. It was like 10 minutes to 11. I was like, this fight's gonna take another hour. So
Yeah.
not dealing with it.
I got some chores I need to do, and then I got hit.
I needed to sleep.
Right. I mean, sleep is, I mean, it is a situation of being older. Anthony, by the way, is a GM Setso from the Patreon Discord. By the way, big shout out
From play-by-post,
yeah,
I don't go there.
from the play-by. Yes.
I don't go there.
Anthony, you know the rule. We
To be fair, we're not allowed to go there.
yeah, we're not
London's
allowed.
about to start yelling at you in a minute for even talking about
Right.
this.
It's like the first rule of the first rule of New Dawn is you don't talk about New Dawn.
That's right.
The second rule of New Dawn is you don't talk about New Dawn. But
The third rule is everyone posts.
And Jasari was saying, like, I feel like I play, level up pretty quickly. I play once a week for about 4 hours, and we're still leveling every other session. So that's an actually interesting question. All things being equal, you're playing a 20 level game. We'll right size for 4th edition, 30 levels, whatever. A level based game. Like what we've played campaigns that were sort of hyper accelerated,
yes.
right?
Yeah, multi-leveling.
Right. And we've also played games like our Abomination Vaults. We're playing pretty much scripted by the book. And there have definitely been times where I think it's gone 3 sessions.
2 or 3 sessions, yeah.
Between levels. So in a standard fantasy 20, what is for you that ideal level rate?
1 level per session.
1 level per session.
But it's got to be more than 3 hours. Like, you know what I mean? Like a 4 minimum hour.
So how about this?
Yeah.
Hours, levels per hour.
I
I agree
still
with
do 1 per session, but I want it in that 4 to 6 range. I feel like would be a nice
because
I
for
guess
me,
3 hours would be every other session.
I do like leveling, and I would like it. But the problem is, I feel like when you level every session, the game feels like a movie that is edited too much. Like it's just
or edited just right.
Right. You're safe. But it's a game that doesn't have any chance to breathe.
Yeah, I agree.
And you haven't even
I want to be able to use my abilities.
You haven't even used your ability yet, and you're getting a new one.
Yeah,
Well,
so
here's the thing.
that's the
Some of
big
these things
issue.
have too much going on during levels. Like PF2, I when I first started playing PF2, I'm like, this is awesome. You get to pick so many things between levels. Like Derek's like, so selling me on. He's like, look how many things you get to pick. Now I'm like, I don't even want to do half this stuff, and then like I don't even care.
But
Like
you still want to level.
I want to level. I do want to level. I just want to experience that level 3, and then go to level 4. I just want to experience a little bit of level 3, go to level 4.
So I'm definitely different than what you guys are voicing here, right?
Yes.
Because
Well, actually, no. to be clear, I am different from Bob, but for a different reason.
Okay.
But I'll let you finish.
Sure.
No.
I was gonna say, like with 4th edition, I like to level a little bit slower because I like to use my powers and learn how to use them, and because you train those powers out all the time, right? So, as you level up, you don't get past a certain point more slots. You have to train your powers out with new powers, right? So your character is constantly evolving, constantly changing, and because it's such an actual tactical game and you're working in such a team-based environment, it's really important that you learn how to work with your character and work with your character, right? So I just like time to do that to let the character breathe, right? With 5e, past 3rd level, I kind of don't care about leveling because it doesn't really matter.
Actually, that's another point. Either I want to level every session, or I don't want to level ever. Like I just,
I mean, right. By
play
the way,
the game.
By the way, again, we've talked about this on the stream before. You're looking at a man here who routinely will just give up leveling throughout the middle of a campaign and then basically say, Derek, can you just level up my character for me? I don't even care anymore.
And if he doesn't, I still don't level. I don't really care. Right? Third edition, I don't know. I kind of like going slow there too. I don't know. Levels are less impactful. Right. So, my tech that I did during like 3rd edition era, right, was Pathfinder 1 introduced the idea of the slow track, the medium track, and the fast track. So fast track was 1,000 a level. The regular expression was 2,000 a level, and the slow was 3,000 to level. Okay, but Pathfinder 1 used like an increasing scale, like in D&D. It wasn't 1,000 every level. I'm just saying like at level 1, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And so the idea was an encounter was worth about 100 XP. So fast was 10 encounters to level. Regular was, which is like what the game was based off of, was like 13 or 14 or 15. It was 20, and then the slow one was 30. I would use the slow one, but I would give, like in DTX, I would give the players abilities to earn bonus experience points by pushing their luck or playing particularly well. Play you could achieve fast.
So you had to earn fast.
I also,
does that make sense?
Bringing back DTX a little bit, I also like the idea that if you didn't show up to the session, you didn't get any experience.
That's just how it used to be.
I just love that when I'd show up sometimes, it was like you were level 4 and I was level 3. And I'm like, it's kind of sweet. Well, he was here.
Listen,
he got the experience.
I have said this on this stream before. I've said that, right? Reward XP is a reward. And so if you get rewarded and you're not even showing up, then how is that a reward? Right. It's not.
I know.
It's
like let me put it this way. If you got your paycheck, whether or not you showed up to work,
would you show
up to work?
But also made this cool dynamic, because I remember Kaz, our buddy Kaz, had missed a couple sessions. He's busy. He's got a busy life. And he was a weaker level, but then it made this other dynamic. Like, if we come in with him, he should probably be behind the front line. And it was like, okay, that actually brought like a new tactic that I wasn't even ready for, because you're always used to be balanced, but we weren't.
Because again, obviously DTX was based off of kind of like that old school idea of like get loot and stuff to level. Kaz had an opportunity for a lot of fun because Kaz fell a little bit behind, but like. Because of how much treasure he could get with us kind of like, spearheading. Like, you and I might loot a gem for 5,000 GP, and we're like, I need like 10 of these, right? Yeah. Kaz would loot that. He's like, holy shit, I'm halfway through my next level.
Yeah.
Right? And that was cool, too, right?
The catch-up mechanics kind of
The catch-up mechanics are fun. And that's actually existed all the way back in old D&D, right? Where, like, if you died, you made a new character or whatever like that, you're like, oh, no, it took so long to get there. Yeah, but you're getting so much experience from, like, loot and treasure. Like, by the time we're like level 10, like a character who died when we were like level 8 might now be level 9.
Yeah.
Like, you catch up that
There's
fast.
something to that, though. I just like there's a flavor there of like, not everyone's the same level. And I think that was even way back. You actually, if I'm not mistaken, different classes needed different experience to level.
Right.
Okay, good. I remember that.
Yeah.
They used to balance classes
that was true until third edition. Yeah. Where everybody used the same experience.
That one seems a little weirder than just like, if you didn't show up. But there's something flavorful about like that guy grinded and he got the XP, and that's why he's a little bit stronger than us. It's kind of cool. It's kind of we're all just not like equal level.
Well, it's actually how they kind of solve problems, right? Like wizards and older versions of D&D and 5th are extremely broken.
Yeah.
You're literally altering reality. Well, yeah, back in the day, you also need way more experience points to level. So if you got to that point, you have basically played almost twice as long as everyone else did
to
Yeah.
get to that point, you know?
Joe says AD&D was a bomb. We never complained about the rules back then. I did.
I just talked about last stream.
Yeah, I mean there were still problems with the game for
We've
sure.
changed a lot in our lives. That has always been
Yeah,
consistent.
we all listen. There's never been a game. Listen, if there was a perfect game, that'd be the game I'd be playing. You know,
It's coming.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Well, the problem is,
And it never will.
yeah, it can exist because diametrically, you know, before this started, we were talking about. And by the way, if you are new here, I apologize because what you get here at Knights of Last Call is complete and total insider baseball, right? This is
Behind the scenes.
Without any actual baseball.
well, it's like very rarely do we ever address. We very rarely have a 101 class, you know. Like
Yeah, we'd start jump right into
we
it.
we kind of get pretty deep into the into the weeds. So we might occasionally mention a bunch of game systems that you've never heard of, or a bunch of game concepts that you've never heard of. But you know, a lot of the people in our chat are members of our Knights of Last Call Patreon, and they are certified. They have their degree from Knights University, and so they can oftentimes answer your questions, even if we can't. But you know, again, and by the way, we just want to say again, thank you so much to everybody who supported us over these last. It's roughly 3 years.
Yeah.
How do you support you?
Well, the best way is to just be your awesome, amazing self and run a great game. Because if that's the only thing that we have a lasting impact on this channel is we have more people out there running great games, that'd be great. But if you do want to join the community, you can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/knightslastcall, and there's a link in the description below. But I was thinking about this before we started the stream with Smith. We were talking about like Legend of the Five Rings and how every time I think about that game, I get really excited. But I don't, and like there's so many elements there that are like, this is the perfect game. But then I go, but I know that if I were to be like, I want to make my ultimate game, I would start doing things to that game that would inevitably ruin it and would take away the things about it that I love. But I also know that kind of deep down inside, if I'm being honest with myself, if I'm being real honest with myself, I kind of don't. I've said this before on the channel, and I think I knew I was lying then. I don't want to play 10 different games. You know, I do want the one game. You know, and
I'm not used to audio coming through.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
true.
not used to hearing the sound.
Well, Dr. Metropolis, that's a hell of a super chat. Usually we don't see super chats after boys just quit my job.
Living the dream, though. Good for you.
Just quit my job and feeling great. Congratulations on the channel. Not really a community guy, but the Discord and this channel have been awesome. I look forward to the 4E actual play, Warlord for Life.
Good choice. Good choice.
I do find it funny. Like I just quit my job, but here's money.
Yeah. That's what we like to call in the business a player's move.
Oh yeah.
But congrats, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
as someone who has previously been employed at a place where I was pretty happy to no longer be working at, I certainly can understand the appreciation of that. So congrats, and hopefully it's you're going to go do something awesome. I went and hiked the Appalachian Trail. Don't know if I can recommend that, but
I think you can recommend it. Yeah. Life changing for people. If you got the means,
yeah,
and you don't have the responsibility, go for it.
life changing as in it fucked up my feet forever. But yeah, that's whatever.
Life changing.
Well, I mean, if your feet start to hurt, take a break or do something else. Like,
But thank you very much, Dr. Metropolis. But yeah, we've got two goals tonight, Doc, with our first super chat. One goal is just to show your appreciation for the night and saying congrats on the 10K. Here's the 10K more. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Okay. The other one is a little bit more pricey.
Oh.
It is $10,000.
There's a tip for just $10,000.
Yeah, the tip goal.
Gosh.
We'll delete the channel.
Oh.
and we're serious about that. We will delete the channel.
My wife starts tipping.
Like it's great. I got $3,000 this month. Well, bad news.
That was it. We'll just start like hacking down the set on
Look,
camera.
better to burn out bright than to fade away, right?
True.
I mean, how many TV shows have you watched where like the last season or two just limped in there and just
like every
one of them, right? You go up on top. Donnie. Oh, don't tempt me. Love it. I was admittedly like, oh, we probably shouldn't put this in there. Thanks, Dr. Waits. Appreciate it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool. Well, glad to have you here.
Yeah.
So I always just find myself in a situation where I go, I would love to just be able to like, I'd probably just reclaim that kind of recapture that spirit and magic of my youth, when we used to sit there and play games all the time.
It was
and
one game.
It was one game.
I don't know if I like that. I don't know. It's probably my ADD.
Man, you do have the ADD.
Like I'm trying to read 3 different things and play multiple different game systems, and I kind of like it, but then also I hate it. So maybe I'm just.
Well,
I just think I want more than I
yeah.
Really
So
do.
let's start
you
with
said lie to yourself. Like maybe I'm just lying to
it's
myself.
possible. So let's start with there. So you've been playing the shortest out of all of us.
Yes.
And you have primarily played with us.
Primarily, yes.
You've run some of your own games, and you certainly have kind of come into your own in that respect. But your time with the game systems have been pretty abbreviated,
and mostly a player.
But you've had the opportunity, because of being friends with who you were friends with, that you have played a variety, probably more systems than most people have played.
I would think so.
Right, because you played a lot of them. So I'm curious, Bob, in your tenure, 3+ years of playing role-playing games, what have been some of your favorite role-playing moments? Maybe it doesn't even necessarily have to be like a full story or a full, like, just certain key moments that just live rent-free in your head.
Well, the first one that comes to my mind is the one that you said you didn't remember, which I felt pretty bad about, but was when my brother rode the log in DTX in Caves of Chaos. The log trap hit me, and then it was there, and so we were going to use it as a battering ram.
So to be clear, for people at home, there was
log trap.
a swinging log that was like on ropes that kind of came down from the ceiling like a big battering ram right into the cave entrance.
Yep, it hit us, but then it was just there, so we used it as a battering ram on, I think it was goblins, and then my brother rode it while shooting arrow, and that just really was cool in my head.
Now, for what's worth, I do remember that your brother had a great time.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Yes.
Now I'm just curious, why that? Why does that stick out?
I think 2 reasons. One, cinematically, we were also playing Theater of the Mind, so I could see everything that was happening in my head. I'm like, yeah, we're totally grabbing this like log on the side, and we're gonna ram it in there. And my brother's this little guy, and he's like this little elf, or he was a
halfling,
and he's just riding.
Technically, he was an honorary dwarf by the end.
Yes, and I'm like, that's so cool sounding, and I'm like, what game can you even do that in? Like, where are the rules at? Guess what? There were no rules. You were making up the rules for like what the log would even hit for, which was also cool. And I got to experience, I think, something that, like, if I was the GM, I don't know if I could handle it that way. Like, especially with PF2, I'm like, hold on. You said it's a log, and you're going to ride it. Well, that's a climb check. Let me just do the climb check first. And then, the log is moving at X, but you're like, no, this is what we're going to do. The log's got this much. It's going to hit for this much, and let's just see if it happens. I'm like, that felt cool. It was fast. It did everything awesome, and I felt very, like, in the dungeon, using the tools, MacGyver it, and kind of do something that you normally just don't see. Like, I'm not going to open this book and go log trap usage.
If you pick up your Rage of Elements book, you definitely will, because the Kineticist has a lot of log abilities.
Fair. And the other one, I don't know why it sticks in my head. I mean, I know why, but again, another Theater of the Mind was actually not me, but it was Smith, and I think we were playing BX at the time, and you had gone in with that dwarf into that group of like mercs.
When I rolled the one, it fell down the hill.
And you were
all of us were like, including Derek, well, he's dead.
Yeah, and you were like defending yourself as this dwarf, like rolling around on the ground with the shield. And I'm like, I could just see it. They're like stabbing this guy. He didn't make it
like
in. He
8
fully
dudes.
charged. Yeah. And I'm going around like slicing people's throats. I was like, this is so thematic or cinematic.
Visceral.
But also it just, maybe it was a Theater of the Mind. Maybe because we weren't playing tactical. But I think I've had fun. Even and we played Dark of Winter, just leveling up and just getting bigger and bigger monsters and minis that Smith has. That was fun too. But I don't think hit my head, I think, as much as
they're different kinds of fun.
Yeah. I also had a really fun time mapping your game when we got killed by the Goblin Warriors, and we had to escape, and I had to get out of the place like just by, and I love mapping.
So long story short, Bob should be playing like BX D&D Labyrinth Lord OSE.
Sounds good.
Yeah, get rid of the minis.
But I like minis too because I'm playing a Warhammer.
That was always my problem, because we went on that like long just no minis, You know, I was like, man, like I want to get a sweet Hero Forge mini, right? And then Derek was like, I think I want to play AV. I was like, yes. And then like spent $50, and of course, like the first session I had no, it was even that. It was the session before I got the mini. I almost died.
You almost did before you even showed up. Yep.
Yeah, that was tight. Well, the thing is, and maybe this is something I've always, because like you, not so much anymore, because they killed my beloved Warhammer and turned it into the Abomination that is Age of Sigmar.
They're coming back with something called Old World.
Right, which is the correct world.
Yeah.
But I was always able to get my minis, grind, because again, I'm not pointing fingers here, but I'm going to point fingers at people and say that I think a lot of people that are playing these role-playing games today, and I think a lot of the people who are really attracted to Pathfinder 2, or the people who are playing 5th edition and don't want to leave the system for a variety of reasons, but complain about things like the balance and all this sort of stuff. What they really want to be doing is playing Warhammer.
And that's why I'm playing Warhammer.
I mean, like
we've said this a lot.
That's why I went over to it.
Yeah, like
and I love it. I got my minis and I got hard tactical combat rules.
Like people have been like, so what do you think is a real tactical game? Because I've been critical of Pathfinder, right? Which is, to be fair, not a tactical game, but what is it? Cinematic.
We got it in the chat. Cinematic tactical maneuver.
Yeah, CTM.
Perfect. Right. And I usually respond with, Warhammer or a variant of Warhammer.
Right.
I'm a fan of like Mordheim.
Yeah, I guess for me, right, there's this evolution that you can think of where you had for many years guys getting around and they were playing toy soldiers. Basically Warhammer, right?
Is that how TTRPG that's how D&D started.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you had guys playing units of soldiers, just like playing Warhammer, right? Squad of men, right? You line them up on a table, you with measuring tape, and you move them. I mean, they rolled dice.
And they were playing like war, like
and
Civil Wars and stuff like that.
Right. So they were playing like Civil War.
Yeah.
They were playing things. And then what Gary Gygax created wasn't Dungeons and Dragons. Gary Gygax created a game called Chainmail.
Right.
And what Chainmail did is it added basically Tolkien. Because like people were playing the Battle of Hastings.
Right.
They were playing the Battle of Agincourt. It's King Charles versus King Henry. And it's like English longbowmen and French cavaliers. But there was no magic. There was no dragon.
There was a dragon.
Yeah, and people played Tolkien.
It'd be cool if I just
these people had read Tolkien and they were like, man, the Battle of Five Armies was tight.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Goblins and wargs. And remember when Smaug attacked, Lake Town? And
remember when the dwarves were riding their goats and leaping over?
I don't recall that one from the book.
The elves were like running up against gravity.
That was just Legolas, and it was horrible. I hate those movies. Actually, the first one's pretty good.
First one's pretty good. First one gave us hope.
The first one gave me hope, but the second one was pretty bad. The third one was absolutely horrendous. But yeah, so you had these games, and then so they introduced Chainmail. Uh-oh, Trey Taylor, thank you for subscribing. Wow, we're getting close here.
Oh,
we're getting very close here. Thank you,
Is
Trey.
that subscribing to the channel, or is that subscribing?
No, it's subscribing to the channel.
It's the adventure.
It's becoming an adventure,
okay.
yeah. Then you would get the You Are Strong.
Sweet.
But Gary created Chainmail because he wanted to add in these fantasy elements to the game. Dwarves and elves and hobbits and dragons and magic. And you had a tactical miniature game with magic and swords. And then Dave Arneson took that idea and he converted it into, you're not playing a unit of soldiers, you're playing one soldier.
Yeah, he made Warcraft 3.
Right. He made Warcraft 3. That's actually a really good comparison. And but remember at that point, and that's what a role-playing game was. A role-playing game was just, instead of using a unit, you were still playing a war game.
Right. Your unit was one dude.
Your unit was just one guy, or one lady, and that's it. And then the game, and that's what D&D was for a long time. And then it's evolved so much over the last 50 years. But I think there's so many people who basically, they don't know this, but they want that.
Yeah.
It's
just fine. Those are good games. People still play those games. Not literally those games, but yeah, people still play Warhammer. They still play the Battle of Saratoga.
Well, but I think on a broader scale, what they're looking for is the D&D equivalent of playing Dota or League of Legends, right? I'm playing my one character. It's it's us versus them, skill against skill, except there's not really skill. You have your build, you level up, you grind the jungle, you do whatever you do in those games, and then you win. But they don't want to play a competitive game.
Right.
Because a competitive game,
you could be, you know, Bob, you've talked about
I have
this.
anxiety.
You don't
Literally get anxiety of playing competitive games.
right. And hey, Lazarus Dark, what do we
Thank
got? Bob?
you. It says, queued up 10,000 maniacs. Am I showing my age here?
Absolutely not. Natalie Merchant is a fine performer.
I don't know what that is.
10,000 Maniacs.
I don't know what that is.
It's a band
Okay, yeah, I don't know what that is.
from the 90s.
Barely alive.
By the way, Lazarus Dark, or just yesterday, had their 12-month anniversary for 12 months of subscribing to the adventure.
Oh,
So
sweet.
So that's a year. Thank you. So, but yeah, like this idea that because the stream belongs to us all. That is true. Thank you, Laz Dark. I think people want that sort of solo tactical experience. Because I say to people all the time, why don't you just play Warhammer? And they say, because I want one character and I want the continuing storyline of the one character. But what they're really saying is that they don't want to control multiple units. They just want to control one character.
Because there is a campaign in Warhammer. You can play campaigns.
Right. Yeah, of course you can. But I'm saying, like, I just think that like there's that idea of missing the forest for the trees. And so I think that there's a lot of people who basically just want to play tactical minis.
I like my minis. I like my toys.
And so I always had that outlet, right? Because I always had Warhammer. And so, like, for me, as time went on, I didn't miss the minis that much.
To be clear, when I say I wanted a mini, I literally just wanted the mini. I didn't really care about the game. But I wasn't just going to go have a mini for no reason, because that just seemed really, like, lame.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what you call what I'm doing. 'Cause I have like shelves full of minis. And Stacy, my wife, was like,
Yeah, but that's for Warhammer.
but I don't play.
That's literally how you play Warhammer, though.
This checks out. This is actually true. I said, some of the stuff I'm printing, my son plays with, and she's like, yeah, that stuff. But like some of the stuff you don't let him play with, I'm like, yeah, those Warhammer ones look are expensive though. Like they cost a little bit of money.
Mike D says, what do you call 10,000 gaming nerds all in one place? Apparently, Knight's the Last Call.
There you go.
So yeah, I always get into this kind of a weird rut because I'm like, it's like I've played so many games over the years, and I look at them and I say, wow, I really, really like that. I really love that that game system Root, Avatar, Blades in the Dark. I mean, these game systems are amazing. But even playing that stupid Dread game and even though it was Dread.
If you are wondering what Derek's talking about, it's probably because you are not subscribed to the Patreon. And if you were part of the Patreon and the Discord, you would see the behind the scenes. It was a video exclusive for the patrons.
Well, we are going to be releasing it for Halloween.
Then you will have to wait just a little longer.
But you have to wait a little longer. But watching you with your stupid joke 3rd edition character.
It was legitimate 3rd edition character.
Right.
Don't call it a joke.
No, it was 3 Flash PF1.
No. It was a Pathfinder character.
Okay.
In a 3rd edition.
Right.
But they're backwards compatible. Right. Just like Remaster is totally backwards compatible.
It is not. I will die on that hill. And even people are like, oh, they're like Archives of Nethys or something is that they're going to keep up the old set.
I think it's going to just be.
But Foundry's not.
Correct. Foundry is, as far as I'm aware, now. I guess you can go
back.
Yeah, you could just go back to the old version.
Right, but all your modules aren't. Eventually you're going to go out of date. You're not going to get any new updates to anything. Right, but you're not going to get any future improvements or updates. You're basically just locking yourself into.
Well, I'm sure there's someone that's going to I only work on PF2 before we master.
Yeah, everybody says that, and then
well, there's people that do it.
Go look how big the 4E community is. Answer: it's not that big. Like,
yeah, 4E sticky.
But
look at the 3rd edition community on Founders. It's actually pretty good.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, they have really good modules there.
I mean, I'm part of a MLB Showdown game that died 20 years ago or something like that, 18 years ago, and we still make new cards for every year.
Well, to be fair, all this stuff is just.
This is very a nerd thing. Right?
Yeah.
Like, someone has a weird niche hobby, it's going to get supported.
Yeah.
But you're right. As far as I'm aware, they were going to keep the PF2, and then they're going to have a PF2 remastered.
Right.
Just like they have the PF1 button in the Star.
You're talking about in Archives.
Archives.
Yeah.
Foundry, though, was completely, I think, just shifting away from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but even then, so it's one of those situations where it's going to be like, and I'm gonna guess that like if they come out with a new book, they're only going to add it to the new Pathfinder. They're not going to add it to the old Pathfinder. So So it's like if you want to play with the old edition, it's like the game is cut in stone because it's coming up here in the next couple weeks, right?
I think so.
November.
It's November.
I don't think there's an official date yet, but they're getting
Yeah,
close.
they should have a date, right? It's super. I'm sure someone in chat would know.
Yeah, if
this.
someone in the chat knows, let us know.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I heard November. That's all I think.
You know,
I heard.
we're kind of on a PF2 hiatus here because, quite frankly, there's just not a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're kind of all waiting. Yeah, it's all going to change anyways. And
I don't know
so
what you're talking about. The witch is unique.
stop. You know, like hopefully. The changes are substantial. I think they, won't be, but
So that's a month away if it's the 15th of November.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's quick.
But it's 4 weeks. Still a month.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah. So we're not. When the remaster comes out, we'll probably talk about a lot about the game and
For sure.
and what's going to change with it. But
Yeah, I want to test out a few classes and see how they run.
yeah. So yeah, but Bob, those are some of your favorite gaming moments.
Yeah, at least that I'm remembering.
Right. Well, that's a good
Ones that
litmus
stick up
test.
my head first.
Now, Smith, you have played a lot more games of role-playing games.
I do. We would be here a long time if I went down memory lane.
What up, Pumpkin? Good to see you, buddy. Sean is here as well. Thank you, Sean. So, do you have any that jump to mind immediately? Small snippets that stick out here and there.
I think like in recent history, and Bob probably shares these ones too. The brief Rapanathuk game that we played was pretty fun. The burned out house fight. I think
I still remember that.
Memorial.
But again, what I'm thinking about is, I think this is absolutely correct. When I have to use my brain to visualize a scene, it sticks a little better. So here I am, I'm having to visualize this abandoned fort hut thing that we're hiding out in. I have to know it, and then once it's in there, it's kind of in there. Versus where I kind of just pass along the minis, like, okay, I'm in that
100%.
tactical formation.
Well, and I've said this before. I agree that there is nothing. It's like where people go, you can't role play in 4th edition. It's like there's nothing in the books that says that you can't talk in character and have dialogue and have social scenes.
I got the RC right here.
Right, you got the rules compendium right there.
No role playing allowed in this game.
Right. And yeah, so it's like
That's right. You know what? It's right after this game is just an MMO, and right before all the classes are exactly the same.
right. We've got a 10-month membership message from Shadram who says, "Congrats on the 10K. Turns out there is an audience for non-5e TTRPG content, and now you have all of them."
Yes, and we worry about that every day.
That is
Can't wait
accurate.
to break this book open next.
We were talking about this a little bit before we started. I'll get back to what I was saying, but I actually realized, I actually don't know that much about 5e.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why is surprising is because I have run 3 5th edition campaigns, okay? I ran a 5th edition campaign for you.
That's right.
I ran a 5th edition campaign for Matt Holloway and some of our other friends. And then I ran a 5th edition campaign that we called Dungeon Timed Extreme, which, to be fair,
It's completely by the book. 100%.
well, that was not completely with the book. But my point is, with the other 2 campaigns, we were playing basically straight out of the book, 5th edition, in theory. But
You've never read the book.
I haven't. I am like a Night of Last Call player from Riders of the Rune Lords, okay? Which is to say, I don't know the rules,
But I own the book.
and I've never owned the book. I don't know the rules.
I read my class.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I probably read the book when it first came out.
I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah.
But that was a long time ago.
I know.
And
we played it for a hot minute, like literal hot minute.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, the single greatest womp 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 for us ever was when we first read 5th edition, and we were like, wow, this game is so underpowered. Like, these characters
it
are
was very
we
underwhelming
were
at
like
the
we were like, oh, these characters are like Conan level, low power, no, especially coming out of 4th edition, and then
the adjustment from 4th.
a couple years later, suddenly it's like, this is the most busted edition of the game ever. Characters are literal gods. Magicians, mages are the most powerful they've ever been. Melee characters are doing 500 damage a round, and we're like, are we playing the same game? Are we playing something different? I don't even understand what's happening here. It was just so crazy.
How many hacks deep was the Dread shot? One shot? I think that was 3.
It was another 3 hacks deep.
Yeah.
The Dread game was Dread mixed with Magpie Powered by the Apocalypse, mixed with Blades in the Dark, mixed with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So it was in fact a 3 hack deep. Another super chat from Dr. Metropolis. If you boys want to play 5e, I hear good things about this.
Is it
Brancanolia?
Brancolonia.
Brancolonia, and
I
it's
don't know. I don't read well, so don't be asking me.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know
Yeah,
what that is. But
either.
the key thing here is what other people don't like about 5th edition is exactly what I like about it.
100% agreed.
You know?
Yep.
Because
like, oh, it's not balanced.
because-
I have to make rulings. I'm like, oh, so the DM can say it for 5th edition.
'Cause
The
here-
DM has a purpose.
Because here's the question, right? And we were talking about this beforehand. What is more important, fun
Oh, we talked about this earlier. Yeah,
or balance?
And I said fun.
Yeah, and I was saying that a lot of Magic the Gathering designers and really important Hall of Fame players, people I really respect, maybe probably a little bit more than I respect some of the people in the TTRPG space, have said time and time again that fun is more important than balance. That if every card was balanced, the game would be utterly boring. And the what makes the game interesting and fun is, in a sense, some of that imbalance.
Yeah.
And this gets back to something that I talked about last week, 2 weeks, when we did the Paladin stream. Paladin was like a superhero character in a game that did not have superhero characters, special abilities, and all these other crazy powers. But it was rare,
Yeah, it was hard to become a paladin.
You've played Magic the Gathering, you've
Yes.
played Draft, and you
Played
know that
lots of Magic.
sometimes, not every time, and if you're better, you get this more often, but it's no guarantee. But sometimes you draft and you make an insane deck.
Yes. You're like, how did these fall to me?
And you just get the perfect position. You
Yep.
get all the cards you want.
The person next to me wasn't doing good.
Yeah, right. And they just give you everything you have. And
Perfect curve.
and it's like playing the game on easy mode.
Yes.
It's like playing the game on God mode.
Especially if you get like a couple of those like big like low cost rares that are like really good in the set, and like somehow you open them, you're like, and they fit perfectly into whatever you were drafting. You're like, I'm going to crush some people. Like people are gonna be like, how did you make this deck?
Right.
Like this is the constructed deck.
Right. It feels like a constructed now. Now, Cam says MTG is competitive, though, and I don't like the comparison. Cam, that is exactly my point. Magic the Gathering is competitive, and yet still they prioritize fun over balance. Now, that doesn't say that you can completely ignore balance. Just because something is in second place doesn't mean it doesn't count. Of course, it counts.
They banned Skull Clamp
You
real
need
quick.
air and food.
Right. You need air and food. But that's a great example. But I just think it's really, really interesting that is a competitive game. TTRPGs, by and large, are not competitive games.
Okay.
And so it's just interesting to me how I feel like the modern audience, what is the mantra? What is the clarion call that the Pathfinder 2 people make when they are trying to, do their missionary work, right? Come play our game, it's balanced. Come play our game, the math is tight.
If you look at it, right, PF2 is obviously the sequel to PF1, and 4E was obviously the sequel to 3E. PF1 was basically 3E reskinned. So both these communities ended up having the same problems, which is 3rd edition is a mess and gloriously and amazingly fun, and it's complete and total unbalance to the extent where like the game didn't really work. And it was all on the DM to figure it out, particularly as you got higher level. Like you go buy an adventure for level 11 to 16 characters. It's like, yeah, but those characters could be anything. Those characters could be something with like 12 armor class who gets one-shotted, or like a Druidzilla, right? Like these adventures had no chance in hell of being remotely guaranteed to work with your party, right? And so both camps, just a decade apart from each other, basically, were bitching about this, right? Because people would go in and be like, your game doesn't work. I can't challenge my party, or my party's getting wiped out in the first encounter, right? So 4E goes, okay, we'll go build a balanced game. And then 10 years later, PF2, with all the PF1 people, which again, remember, it's the same game, it's 3rd edition. All the PF2 people, or all the PF1 guys are complaining. So PF2 goes, okay, we'll go build you a balanced game, right? And, it's really easy to look at this at PF2 because it's just recent memory, right? But like everything in PF2 was designed to fix some sort of problem or complaint that was in PF1. And that's where this notion came from. And so this camp of people complaining about this are coming from like disgruntled DMs who, try to buy an adventure and couldn't make it work because they had, like a Larry Taylor in their party back in the day, a good friend of ours who was just really, really good at optimizing. or you have the player who loved to play the fighter or the rogue and was always getting showed up by the wizard who would just come in and go counter over, right? And so, and again, I'm not trying to make fun of these people. They had legitimate concerns and complaints, but that's where this drive came from. And so the people who got sold on PF2 are like, listen, if I'm a game master, I want a game that's just going to work where I don't have to care about what my party composition is. I just go buy an adventure off the shelf and run it, and it's totally fine. And hey, if I'm a player, I want to know I can show up with my special snowflake investigator and still like contribute without the wizard just owning everything for me.
I mean, I was just playing March of the Dead and I didn't have any worries. I'm like, this is balanced basically for this adventure, and it felt like I did some damage to the PCs. It got a couple close, and then they won. Yeah. So I was like, this is exactly what it's supposed to be.
Very clear. We've been very critical about PF2 on this channel, but if you are going for that experience, PF2
nailed it.
Fucking crushes it.
Yep.
Right.
Like I have never seen a D20 game, even including 4E, that goes, 1 to 20 or 1 to 30 in 4E's case, that like actually maintain that balance like through the whole game. Even 4E like had some issues.
Yeah, building an encounter in PF2 is very easy. Like I can really like
if you follow the rules, it's going to work.
Yep.
And it does.
Yep.
You have to go in and break something to make PF2 not work.
That's true.
Right. And I think that's where it comes down to, though. I think that there are people, and we see this because Pathfinder 2 is not perfect. It does. You said, I agree with you. I think it does the best job that we've seen out of any sort of, actually.
That job.
That job. And honestly, probably of any role-playing game, because are there role-playing games that are, as complex with this much thing that had that level of balance? Probably not, right? Because a lot of those other systems, are not even trying to do that.
Right.
They're not even trying to do that. So of course they fail that. I'm not trying to. Some of them don't care about that.
And we'll be clear, we're not saying that these games are not fun or good. Again, Derek and I actually like the other games better, right? Like because we like fun over balance, right? We're not in those camps.
Right.
We're not complaining about these issues, but. PF2, if that's the problem you have, PF2 crushes it.
Right. And that's what I was going to say, though, is my mind is always sort of amazed at this because, sure, Pathfinder 2 is by and large fairly well balanced. And by that, I mean, there are different types of balance. I think Hoyrit said that.
Yep.
One of the balances is like Bob was talking about, where if you take an encounter and you go, this is a 100 XP encounter, it will be roughly this hard.
Yep.
And I can expect that regardless of what my party, is, they will be able to beat this. It's a moderate plus, so they may have to, get a little scary at times, but it'll be fine. There's also balance internally, right? Someone, I did miss, Shadram said this. I said, I think the popularity of WoW led to a lot of the desires for balance. You can't have your rogues out damaging your hunters. So there's that internal balance where if your character is the damage dealer and my character is the damage dealer, well, then we kind of have to do the same amount of damage, don't we? Right? We can't have a free lunch.
Right.
But what's interesting to me is, and this is a game that, as Aaron was saying, is trying to compress the floor and the ceiling so that you have a more consistent gaming experience. And by the way, we talked about this the other day. Before everybody thinks that like, oh, this is a new thing. No, it's not. That is what AD&D First Edition was trying to do. Right? As people out there think old school AD&D First Edition is some sort of old school game, I actually argue that it's not, or at least that wasn't the philosophy.
It wasn't the philosophy. In
because
fact, it's funny because we'll and you need to bring this up, but like we were talking about this the other day, and we've been critical about like subreddits like PF2, and like early on in PF2, these guys were like hardcore, like do not modify this game, do not homebrew. That's 5th edition mentality, but. Tell them what Gary was saying about AD&D.
Exactly. So Dungeons & Dragons came out in 1974. It was a very short book, couple small little booklets that were staple bound, came in a box. And the game got out there into the masses. And the way Gary Gygax was thinking about D&D was like, oh man, this could be like a whole... He was thinking of like MMOs or Northern Reaches before those were things. So he was thinking about like, the base assumption was that your character would go with you. So, Bob, you would take your character to Aaron's game, and then you would take your character over to my game. It was like one shared communal world. But Gary saw that there was this massive problem. The game was kind of incomplete. So Aaron had some messed up, crazy, death state rules. He was playing over there.
As I do.
Right? Then you come over to Derek's soft-ass game, and he's not killing you at 0. Right?
you're not dying at -10. So you tell the next GM that you play with, right, that it's like, oh, you went to -5, and it's like, what kind of rules was that? Now, Cam brings up a good point. Gary was also trying to screw Dave Arneson out of royalties.
Very important point.
Yeah, which is a very important point. But the methodology.
Gary had a lot going on, but yeah.
Gary had a lot going on. But the methodology with which he was trying to do was, as he says in the book himself, Gary was trying to create one truth. Mm-hmm. That to the point where you could have literal D&D tournaments.
Yes.
Where the idea would be that you would bring your character from home and play in a competitive point-scoring D&D game. Not necessarily versus each other, but like versus the module. And that the idea was, because everyone's playing with the same set of rules,
right.
You didn't have to worry about whether someone's going to have some crazy, ridiculous, broken magical item.
Right.
Because Gary was like, how can you ever have order and have one version of the truth if you can just let people make up whatever rules that they want?
Yeah.
But I like doing that. And that the thing that for me, fun probably is more important than balance, because my enjoyment, right or wrong, people say D&D isn't a competitive game. Pathfinder 2 isn't a competitive game. I think everybody out there who talks about their build is playing a competitive game. They might be playing it with themselves.
Yeah. They're trying to do something.
Right. They might be playing.
Competing against something.
They're competing against the game. They're trying to beat the game. They're not trying to experience the game.
All right.
Right? They're trying to beat the game. Because that brings me all the way back to the beginning when we talk about leveling up. And I told you that Bob's difference is different from mine. Here is why I like leveling up. Back in the day. It's kind of different now. I'm old. I'm jaded. I've been around. The reason why I always liked leveling up wasn't about my character sheet. Okay? I liked leveling up because it was about what my character was going to experience or get to do. Like, and like,
you say get to do this, isn't that just what's on your character sheet?
No. Meaning,
it's like what adventures you're gonna go on, what creatures.
I'm higher level now. I'm maybe a much higher level. I'm in a castle in the clouds, right? Fighting storm giants.
Right.
That's cool to me.
That you really couldn't experience at level 1.
You can't experience that at level 1, right? I had to earn into that. Level was like a way that I could buy. That was like I wanted the level so that I could go do the cool things. It wasn't the other way around. Right. I didn't want to go fight cloud giants in their storm fortress so that I could level up.
But you really mean also to be able to fight them on an even playing field, right? Because you liked it also that like there's a dragon over there. We probably shouldn't go fight it because we are not the right level, but you know of it, and because it's not balanced, that could exist.
Right.
But the idea of like we now could take on that dragon because we are higher level, we can experience that dragon.
Right. It's about It's about getting to experience it because
and Bob, you should be able to relate to this, right? Because when we played, Keeping the Borderlands, like we started off and we slowly penetrated into the penis caves.
Yeah, we really couldn't go to fight chaos just yet.
Well, we definitely couldn't go to the shrine.
Yeah.
Right. And when we started off, we knew that the caves in the higher level were, way too high level for us. There's no way we could take on Minotaur, right? So we'd start the small stuff and we'd get some treasure and we'd level up. And then each expedition end, we'd go a little bit deep, we'd go a little harder. And then by the end, we're like, we own this place.
Oh, yeah. And we did.
Sense of progression was core to D&D, not just the leveling aspect of it, but like part of playing the game was personal mastery over the environment.
Mm-hmm.
The dungeon itself was something that you leveled up in, but in the sense that, as we played it, as you mapped it, as we learned its secrets, it became, rather than this hostile alien environment that started as, where we knew nothing and we were going into the dark and anything around the corner could turn us. If you noticed through the progression of that campaign, by the end, it was our asset. Mm-hmm. We were using it against the bad guys, the NPCs, up to and including the point where we knew the secret doors that the NPCs didn't know about. And so we became masters of it. And that progression is not accidental, right? So it introduced these multiple ways of gaining mastery over an environment, which is just awesome.
Well, that brings me back to two things. I just said earlier, it was cool to keep idea of level in the sense that it was cool that we were different levels. But when we noticed when Derek said, "What do you remember?" I don't even know what level we were when we finished.
Yeah, so
because I didn't really care. I remembered everything that happened in that adventure.
Yeah. So I think a great comparison, and real quick, I do want to give a shout out. Shadram with a $10 tip said, contributing to your retirement fund, enjoy being successful and famous. Well, I don't know about successful and famous.
We did get a couple, like 4 people say hi to us at Origins.
Yes, so like
it's one more than. Wait,
so
sorry.
Yeah, so last year I had one person say, "Oh my God, it's Derek from Night's Last Call," and this year, we had like 3 or 4. So we're 4 times as famous.
Yeah, maybe Origins will get like 7.
But we also have a super chat from our boy Whoople.
It's just a cheers.
He's just a bunch of cheers. Thank you,
drinking.
Whoople. Appreciate it. Whoople, not only a member of our adventure, but also one of our illustrious legends, true friends and supporters of the channel.
And a member of our GM Council.
A member of our Northern Reaches GM Council. And so Whoople has come in and made themselves quite at home here at Knights of Last Call, and we love to have them here. But so I guess the question is, there are people that it's a difference of philosophy of like, how can I say it? It's like I have to level so that I can go fight the fights that the game expects me to fight versus I get to level. So now I can go take out encounters that I want to take on. Right. So like because when you play most people, when they think about a game, whether it's a video, because even in like a video game, you're sitting down and you go, I know there's some end boss, even like a shooting game, you're like, I have this handgun, and I need to get the super mega rifle before I can beat the game. Right. And so that there is like this progression. And so you feel like you are just trying to earn the right, to keep playing. Whereas I think of it as like, I could play this game at level 1 forever because there's so much to see and so much to do. But I get the privilege of leveling up, and then it's like now other encounters become available to me. I don't have to level up. I get to level up, right? Like leveling isn't a chore.
It's a reward.
It's a reward.
Yeah.
Right. But like when you play in most games nowadays, it's not really a reward.
No.
I was thinking of like I think it was you said that Smith likes to like not do the main quest in a video game. Yeah. So like that's what I was thinking. Yeah. It's like, well, if I go to the main quest, I'll level up, but there's all this other cool stuff I want to experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of reminded me of that for whatever reason.
My wife's making fun of me the other day because I'm starting my 2000th playthrough through Skyrim.
Oh.
And she was just like,
that's probably accurate.
Probably. I wasn't really joking. And she's just like, you've played this game for what years is it? 23, 12 years, and even she knows. She's like, you've never even like beaten the main story. I was like, it's worse than that. I've barely started it.
Yeah.
I know it's about dragons.
Yeah.
Right.
Like. There is something that is like this is for me like an old school MMO experience. When I used to play EverQuest,
I was just thinking about EverQuest.
I remember being low level, and I'm running around like the plains of Karana, and you would hear the crashing sound of an approaching giant, which was instant death.
Yeah.
And you'd flee and run away. And I remember, whatever. It seems like 20 years later, but it wasn't. It was like months later, years later, being with my friends at a fortress of giants, stacking them up like firewood, right? Just stacking them up.
Yeah.
We didn't have to level so that we could go beat those giants so that we could complete the adventure. There was no adventure.
Right.
We got to go do that. I got to turn this fear, this, oh my God, like imagine playing an early version of D&D or I guess even Pathfinder 2 because it doesn't work as well with Pathfinder 2 because of the way the levels work. But like to your point, Bob, you guys are going to the dungeon and you're going back and forth, but that there's a red dragon that lives in these areas. And sometimes the GM rolls them on the random encounter chart or just to be a little bit of a shit. The red you see the shadow of the wings on the riverbed as you're making your way. Everyone dives for tree cover to get out of line of sight. Maybe you come across the sign of like, oh, there's an orc tribe that's been bothering you. And then you come across them and they're all dead because they've been burned to a crisp, right? And you like live in fear of this red dragon. Imagine what it feels. And again, it's just a red dragon on a random encounter chart, but it comes up a couple times. Imagine what it would feel like to come back
months later, maybe even years later, and be high enough level and just destroy that dragon and just
treasure's mine.
Yeah, it's just straight up kill, the dragon. And not even it'd be like, wow, I used to be terrified of this
But
thing.
that is sort of people then might so that just depends on I guess what you want out of the game, right? Because if like I want to kill Smog, it's like okay, well then I need to level up. And then there's that like instead of get to, it's like I that's my end goal.
And I just think that's
it's a real close line.
I know,
it's like
and I'm
really
not
thin line.
I don't want to use the term toxic because I mean, everybody plays games for a different reason. But I just feel like that mentality has led game design in a way that it doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit as well with me.
I know what you're saying. I kind of agree with it too. And you see this regardless of genre you play. You see this in every kind of game nowadays. Like it's almost like mobile games are like the worst, and not that we play those. Well,
I do.
But like,
I definitely do.
Right. That's designed. That grind mentality
100%.
is designed
Especially
for mobile
if you're
games.
Spending money.
And not only do you have the grind, but you also have the constant drip of keep playing. Here's a reward, right?
Oh yeah, they ding me when my energy's full.
Right. I mean, you go to an MMO now and you play through the tutorial, you leave, you're like level 5, and it's been 10 minutes, right? Compared to like even EverQuest, like getting to level 2 could easily be an hour of work where you're out there like with your barbarian in Hallis, like trying to club a wolf to death, hoping that you could kill this wolf because it's like the lowest level was 1. So like it's 50-50, like actually 50-50. Like the wolf might have an advantage because you don't have any equipment yet, right? And then, oh no, an orc walked past. Oh, can I make it back to the guards?
I have to flee for my life,
Yeah, and that's to get to level 2.
Yeah, I don't play any of those games.
Right.
My games are like experience.
Well, not to make fun of you, but like that's the common shift, right? A lot of people don't play those kind of games.
Well, yeah. Also, game psychology figured out that's what keeps people hooked.
Yep.
That's what keeps people addicted,
Yes.
right? It's the constant stimulation.
But also like keeping you just on the edge where you're close enough. If you play just more, a little bit harder, you could almost be those guys spending money.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, those guys are real grinders. I'll just grind a little harder.
Just throw a couple bucks in.
Yeah. I saw there's people that make YouTube videos that are they're real high production values, and there's somebody like I think they might be Australian, but like they're talking to somebody about like how they earn this plate mail, but it's like done like real life, and then the person's like, oh, cool, and then like it appears on them, and they're like,
Viva La Dirt League.
yeah,
They're amazing.
that was such a funny skit where the person's like, well, I'm very proud of it. I had to grind for so long to get it, and the person's like, oh, I just bought it in the store. It was $9.99.
That was a good skit because he was like, oh, I'm sorry. I work my butt off in real life all day, 40 hours a week, just so I can have this just one thing that keeps me like feeling good about my life. And the girl's like, okay, fine, it's just cosmetic. And then she's like, let's go kill some stuff. He's like, with this demon sword of slaying. And he just like started the game or something. And she's like, son of a bitch, fuck you.
Right.
So
she was fine with it. It
funny.
was cosmetic, and he was trying to be like, I'm using my hard-earned money. This game could be whatever I want it to be.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're a great channel.
And there's been some good chats. I'm sorry if I missed it. But Pumpkin said, I've never really thought about it this way, but when I play a game, I am in that grind level mindset.
Yep.
Right? Like everything I'm doing is to get that level, and is to not only get them as many and as quickly as I can, And I think it raises an interesting question, which is I'm not saying this is like the perfect way, but is a way of evaluating a level-based game's true value in imagining what that game would be like if you stopped leveling.
Like, would it still be entertaining to the
Right.
player?
Right.
I think it's a really good exercise
Because
because for me, and this, I've for as much as I play MMOs, I'm horrible at them because I just don't care. I've never cared about level.
what about Final Fantasy 14?
I don't play that for the level.
By the way, Calderex says FF14 was the only game that I didn't feel pressure to grind levels. The story was just good enough to just experience it.
Right. The story. But to your point, just all the other things. Like I spent hours fishing in that game, decorating my house, like hanging out in places. Yeah, I like these games. We talked about this before. Like, why do I play these games? Escapism, right?
Sure.
Because I played to get immersed in these games. Actually, I had a funny side story. Like, I've been playing some No Man's Sky recently with a very good friend of mine, and I was talking to my wife about it, and the person I'm playing with like has never played this game before, and so all brand new and stuff, right? But instead of doing what I've normally done, like what I do with my wife when we play a game, where I'll go through and I'll explain everything. Like, oh, this is what you should do. This is how you should think about it. Right? I try not to like
Patronize them.
right, or like
Or
play
pressure.
their character.
Yeah.
Like make your own decisions, but like this is how the game mechanics work, right? You know, just explain the game. And this time around, it was more of just like I just kept my mouth shut unless I was asked a direct question. Just almost like live vicariously through the new player, you know? And it was such a different experience where like we were playing this game and just kind of like exploring things for the sake of exploration, just checking things out, like not thinking about the game mechanics, right? Literally just like doing stuff because it was cool. And it changed my world for me because so long, to like Pumpkin's point, for so long now, you can't help it, right? It's a constant trap. The more you play these games, even if you have a mindset where you're not trying to do your Sigma level grind set, right? You just can't help it. Like, I know how these games work. I've played them all my life. Like, I can't help it. I sit down playing MMO. Yeah, I know what it's doing. I know
the
gonna
cooler
work.
shits at the higher level.
Well, even if you don't care about that, you can't help but just still respond to it, right?
It's pretty much baked in.
My point is, it takes effort to take a step back and be like, wait, this is like supposed to be fun. Can I just enjoy this experience? It's like, to your point, take the levels away, right?
Right.
Can I just sit here in this world or in this game and like have a good time?
I mean,
without the grind.
case in point, I asked you what some of your favorite moments were, and you gave some great examples. They weren't that time I leveled up.
Correct.
Right.
And they weren't the time that I got to level 20
Right.
and beat Dark of Winter.
Because at the end of the
It wasn't
day,
that, which was still fun.
right?
But
You know,
wasn't
I mean,
like
this is kind of one of those. You know, it's not the journey, right? It's the destination, right? The play's the thing, right? The thing that you're doing in the game should be the fun part.
By the way, Bob, I'm glad you said that because I think we've talked about before, but just so you know, Dark of Winter was a serious troll to teach you a life lesson, which you learned.
I mean, yeah.
It was.
It was also a lesson to never play a sorcerer again.
No, sorcerers are amazing. You were just terrible.
Well, I just don't have the brainwith for it.
And Deep Priest asked, like, if you don't have levels, like, what are the ways that you can still, progressing is still fun. And I agree. But what it is it's there's so many, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is leveling to me should almost be a secondary side effect. You know, because even when you look back at original Dungeons and Dragons, Gary wasn't thinking my players are going to want experience points.
Right.
He's thinking they're going to want gold and treasure and magical items. So since that is what they're, because their characters, a character doesn't know what an experience point is,
right.
But a character craves wealth and treasure and cool magical items that'll give them, magical force fields and the ability to walk through the water and, fly through the air. Of course they're going to want these things. I'd better reward those things. So the XP was like a secondary benefit of just playing the game.
But that reward is leveling up.
Right.
But if you want to not focus on leveling up.
But why level up?
I guess just to like you were saying, maybe to experience things that you couldn't experience at level 1.
Correct. You couldn't go into the dark mountains or the dark forest at level 1.
But the question was, if you're not leveling up, if the goal is to not level up, what are you rewarding then? Like, how are you rewarding that play?
No, Derek's question was more of like, if you remove leveling, does the game still have merit? Is it still fun? It's a thought experiment. He's not actually saying remove leveling.
Yeah.
He's going, do you still enjoy aspects
If we
of the
sat
game?
down to play a D&D campaign and I said, hey guys, everybody make a level 5 D&D character, Pathfinder 2 character, pick your poison. Yeah. We're going to play a D&D campaign at level 5. Forever, no level.
Yes.
Well, for playing 3rd edition, level 5 is amazing. So,
yeah,
I'm
that's
good.
the
Actually, I
question.
don't want to
level 6, EL 6.
And what's interesting there is, what are the players going to focus on?
Right.
Are they going to focus on just slaughtering ogres? Are they going to like go get treasure? Or are they just going to explore the world?
Yes.
And then and then so the idea is like, do you have to level that?
Yeah. And so I guess that's
the players.
But again, so I do think progression is an important part of the game. I like leveling up. Of course I do.
Yeah. This was actually one of my issues where we were thinking about our next game, right? Like I did want to play PBTA for our home game for like a long game. I love PBTA. I think everyone on the channel knows I love PBTA. Like for like our long Friday game, I don't want to play that because there's no real progression. Like you have some, but it's like 10 sessions and you're done, right? Like I want to sink my teeth into something, And this is me who hates leveling, so I still like these concepts.
Yeah.
It's just not necessarily. It's like we said before, right? Like it's not air to me, It might even be like maybe not food, but maybe shelter, right? But like not literally. There.
Yeah, I mean,
But that progression is an experience that you can't get when the sessions are only 10 sessions and we're done.
correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, there's that idea of just, trying to let the game breathe. I think about some of these, Final Fantasy games that people used to, 100 hours to beat, 150 hours to beat. Then you have games that are over in 10, 15 hours. Yeah. And it's like, well, obviously the experience is quite different in that respect.
That's a huge reason why I love role playing games because 100 hours, that seems like baseline. Like,
right.
Like if there's a game that's like 5-10 hours, I'm like, well, I don't even know what this is.
I mean, to your point, there was even a very popular variant. I don't remember who originally published this, and I think it was in a blog, but there was a very popular variant. I don't know, maybe it wasn't that popular in 3rd edition D&D, right? Called E6. And this person basically wrote
we played that once.
Oh yeah, we played that once. The person basically wrote a blog article where they said, when you look at a level 6 character in 3rd edition D&D, they basically are at the level of like Aragorn and Legolas and Boromir, like these great heroes, legends. They're not superheroes. They are basically the level that, let me put it this way. When you watch Lord of the Rings, well, this is a bad question because Bob.
We have 2 people here.
Okay. Do you think Aragorn leveled up?
No.
Right.
I
would agree with you. Maybe he gained a level.
I think he gained a level because he
might have got
his
some
name level.
feats.
Like he
He became a king.
Aragorn.
He was level 8 and about to level, and then he looted Narsil, and that put him over the edge, so that he got his title.
Yeah, Aragorn at the beginning of the movie is this capable, competent fighter, wilderness warrior, and at the end of the movie, he's a charismatic guy. And at the end of there's a character arc he goes through, obviously, but in terms of his abilities,
I was thinking maybe he got a new sword feat.
yeah. So maybe he gained a level, maybe but
when I think of,
and he certainly picked up a new shiny magical item.
When I think of leveling, I think of you got stronger. Or like literally almost transformed.
Right.
Like you gained all of a sudden new magic thing you never even had.
Let me give you a more modern example. Captain America.
Yeah.
From the movies.
Yes.
Chris Evans.
It's been the same for hundreds of years.
Okay. He was in the first the Avengers movie. Oh no, he's in Captain America, first Avenger, and then he was in the Avengers and all the Avengers movies. Did Captain America do anything different? By the end,
he grew old and decided to screw over his party.
About the only thing he did was, this is, by the way, true of Aragorn. Got sweet new gear, badass legendary item. Captain America picked up Mjolnir. He got a badass magical item, and that was it. So, those characters didn't change.
Yeah.
Not really.
Actually, yeah, I'm trying to think. Thor kind of had a lot of mechanical developments.
Thor probably the most because he realized he was the god of lightning and thunder. He could actually just summon lightning and thunder.
I'm thinking the person that might have leveled with Spider-Man getting his superior Spider-Man suit with.
But even then, that's kind of gear, not really level. My point is, E6 was
fair.
This blog post basically said all your favorite characters from fiction are basically level 6 characters. Right. So they're so why don't we make a variation of 3rd edition D&D where once you get to level 6, you stop leveling. And if you can continue to maybe gain new abilities or cool, but it's all diegetic. It all happens in the game world.
You would gain more feats instead of one.
But you don't gain any more power.
Yeah, I was trying to think of Captain America when he was just like Steve Rogers, the guy, then became Captain America. But that's more
that's origin story. That's before you're level 1.
Yeah. But I was even thinking that is a totally different almost person because he's all of a sudden strong now. But that would be leveling. It'd be more you unlock the whole new thing.
Now, actually, I don't know who said this. I'm sorry, I missed your text. But someone said here, the Hobbits totally leveled up. Yes,
great.
The Hobbits totally leveled up.
Yeah, because they were at level 1.
Yeah, they said level 0, which I completely agree with. You see them.
Yeah.
You see them throughout the course of the movie go from being basically completely, just
worthless.
Gardeners, worthless. They're learning how to fight.
Look at Sam at the end.
And then you look at Sam at the end. So it's very, very, very cool that that is a great example of where you did see leveling up and you saw that progression. But we got a super chat from Ryan who says a little tip just because.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Just the tip, just the way you like it. So that brings us to the question so
Do we want to go? Do we want to go back to Aaron's favorite stories? I cut him off hard.
Oh, you did cut him off. All right.
Oh, it's,
He cut you off with the Rapanathuk.
Yeah, because I was all of a sudden for Panathuk.
All right. Bob got
I was
distracted.
saying my favorite story. That was just one like recent memory.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Which
Give
at this point is
give us one more.
Ah, jeez.
Don't forget your mic.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking. I don't know. It's hard. My memory's also shot at this point.
Someone did say they were like, "Is that
Make
just
a
us?
recall
Is that just
knowledge
us
check?
getting old? You can make a recall knowledge. Critical failure. You lie. It's like, oh, I remember this time.
Yeah.
We were doing this amazing thing.
That was George.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but like, now I have lots of little memories.
Yeah, sure. Micro moments.
So I'll kind of shove them all together here. But I always crack up. People say there's no role playing in like 4th edition because I think our 4E campaign was probably one of the most heavy RP story games that we've ever played in, right? And certainly a lot happened outside of the table. Like for some reason, we all became like novelists. Even Rich Scotty Cock in chat would write. Rich would write pages and pages of narrative.
Between
FBT.
sessions. So we go play 4th edition. We sit down to play the session. A lot of dice rolls, a lot of combats, a lot of skill challenges, And then between these are weekly sessions, between the week, everybody would suddenly like write short stories.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Everyone.
Like
Tim, Rich,
Rich, Ross.
No, you don't bat an eye when I go write a novel. But like these guys got into it, right? And that speaks, I think, to the game and the quality of dungeon mastering that Derek was doing, right? Like this was a really good game that really came alive, and it also speaks to the game mechanics too. I've said many times, like the mechanics themselves help bring the game alive. Like you feel like a leader if you're playing a leader, you feel like a defender if you're playing a defender, right? It does a great job of making you feel the class fantasy. When you're a wizard and you're dominating everything, like you feel like a wizard, right? So all these things came together and made it really nice. And there's a reason why to this day, when did we play this in our
Fourth edition? 2008?
Yeah. So
2009?
Over a
15
decade
years ago, yeah.
I've kept like my character's name, William Brandis.
Oh, that's from that edition.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
that was the name of his
PC.
Yeah.
Oh, so you read
it was my warlord, 1 to 30.
Lasting impression then.
That's probably my favorite character of all time. In terms of like D&D bucket list, that character hit every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I got some William Brandis stories.
Oh, we can talk about it all day.
But we got RC in the chat saying
Oh,
congrats
RC.
on 10K subs. I know, Steven. I know
Small
we're not-
numbers.
We're
Small
small numbers.
Steven.
We don't have the kind of industry insight news clickbait information that you guys have. Calderex just tell us about William. So I'll from a GM's perspective, I have a couple stories about William. So I'll tell you a story about William. So for those of you who don't know, 4th edition goes to 30, right? It's very much like a Spinal Tap thing where, ours goes to 11. But don't think of it as just taking 1 to 20 and extending it to 1 to 30. 20th level in 4th edition is still 20th level from your D20 game.
Okay. So it's like
This is literally, in fact, they call it the epic tier, where your characters begin pursuing what is called their epic destiny. So this is a mechanical, it's almost like a archetype, it's like a subclass, and you pick it for your character when you get to 21st level. And one of them might be a demigod. Your character begins to awaken a shard.
Reaches.
Well, there's no reason for that.
Oh my goodness.
Your character begins to awaken a shard of sleeping god. I remember Tim's character, Nerix, was a punisher of the gods. And he was literally the pantheon of gods, divine assassin.
His job was to take out the bad guys.
His gods was to take out the bad guys. And then the idea
That's a cool
was
title.
you when you got to 30th level.
It also really fits into Tim's background, his character story.
So at one point during the course of the game, this is part of our story's sort of evolution. So again, another thing about 4th edition is angels were not good in 4th edition. Angels were servants of the gods, good or bad.
Right.
So
as Bodius as a god had angels as followers,
Okay.
which to be fair was more biblically accurate anyway.
correct. But angels were just like servants of the gods. They weren't necessarily like these beacons or
What
bastions
about
of good.
demons?
Demons were different. That's
Those are just evil, and they were a separate thing.
evil and a separate thing.
Demons were like corrupted primordials.
Okay.
So like, you know, the elements in primal, think primal tradition. Imagine if that got corrupted by like pure evil. Like, that's kind of what demons were.
Yeah, so it's not the traditional angel versus demons type
No,
thing.
no.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is the party is like early epic. I think they're like 22nd, 23rd, 24th level. And Matt Holloway's character, Kamal, I'm sorry, they're about to become epic. Okay, they're about to start, I should say that. They're about to start their epic paths. And what we have been hinting at this whole time is that Matt Holloway's character, Kamal, who is a dragonborn ranger.
This you're talking about Pyramid Shadows.
No, this was late because this is when you got the +2 to everything. That was not Pyramid Shadows.
I didn't think Matt Holloway was there for us with us at Paragon.
Yeah.
Was he?
Mhm.
So he took a break.
At Epic.
Okay.
Right.
Was his last name the Pit Fighter?
Yeah. Yes. His
Or the Frozen Fist or whatever?
His Paragon path was Pit Fighter.
Okay. So he's playing Magic.
And so Matt Holloway's character basically was determined that he was a reincarnation of Io. And like in the 4th edition Pantheon, Io was the original sort of progenitor dragon god who had been killed, and from his like divine essence sprang 2 dragon gods, Tiamat and Bahamut.
Yep.
Right? So good and evil. But,
I know those
but in the cycle of rebirth, this dragonborn was reborn with like the soul of Io. And everyone feared him because they feared that his divine, like they feared that should he succeed and divinely ascend, that he would be a threat. And so Tiamat, the evil 5-headed dragon queen god, and Bahamut, the lawful good, both wanted him dead.
Dang.
At the same time, Rich Camp, his character's goal in this campaign was to reassemble his character's sword from our 3rd edition campaign 10 years earlier.
Oh yeah, very important. This campaign entire thing was a sequel, like 500,000 years later.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
From our 3rd edition game.
In our original campaign,
This is the one where like Tim like fought his or had his former self or something.
Valdair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Valdair was an immortal. Funny story. Valdair was an immortal from a 3rd edition campaign purely because he died so often. Derek got so annoyed that we had to stop after every fight to go get Tim True Res. Derek was just like, you know what, Tim? You're now immortal, and when you die, you'll come back in like 1d10 minutes.
1d10 rounds. actually.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, Tim, but you know how it is.
so actually, well, okay, there's a whole lore here, but well, this is the kind of
this is why I didn't get into it.
This is the structure of it. So Tim's character Voldaire kept dying because Tim made a bad character. Okay, let's just.
He was a fighter of a Tencon.
He was a fighter with a Tencon, and this was at a higher level adventure. So the gods got so upset because they're like, "Stop bothering us!" That what they did is they like supercharged him with positive life energy so that he would just come back to life after 1d10 rounds. Many, many, many years later, when the campaign was over, we basically said, well, you know, like it's like the inspiration for this was the Green Mile, if you've ever seen the Green Mile.
have.
Okay. So you know that Tom Hanks brings the mouse back to life. And then the mouse is like still alive 50 years later. Like, because like that supercharging of life energy kind of had an unintended consequence, which is, oh, this thing can't actually die.
Right.
So Tim's character couldn't die. So what we discovered, this is where the meta, this is a classic Knights of Last Call thing. Rich, when he played D&D with us, it was his first time ever playing D&D. He came from playing EverQuest from MMOs. Rich wanted to level up.
Oh yeah.
That's what he wanted. He wanted to level up. So Rich put together, he had this sword called the Burning Blade of Effortless Murder. It was a big Vorpal sword, and he was death and destruction incarnate. Well, the campaign ended at level 20. Rich actually managed to get to level 21. But the idea was, the joke was that, you know, the campaign ended. The joke was that just because the campaign ended, Rich's character wasn't done. Rich's character, Brennard, wanted to keep leveling up. So he kept killing things. Well, he ran out of things to kill.
It wasn't worth any experience.
It wasn't worth any experience. So he had to go bigger. So then eventually he spent several hundred years killing Tim's character because he was
over and over again.
because he was
farming him?
He was farming him.
farmed him.
Because he was immortal and he could just kill him. So Rich's character overpowered him and then killed him. But then now he's super high level. What else? What else can I kill that will still give me experience? Gods. So in 3rd edition, there is like 50 deities in the book. In 4th edition,
There's like 9.
there's like 10. So the joke was when we started our 4th edition campaign is that Rich's character
he's
Brennard,
listening to this too.
Rich's character Brennard had killed the other 40 gods in his quest to level up. And the myth of what happened to him is unknown. What is known is that his sword, which was supposedly unbreakable, was shattered into 4 or 5 different pieces or essences. They weren't even necessarily physical. They were some of it was like essence and scattered throughout the world. Rich's original character was a dwarf. Rich's 4th edition character was a dwarf whose goal in the campaign was to find the pieces or the essences of this blade and reassemble it. And he was well on his way. So as we get to the near end of Epic, you've got Kamal, Matt Holloway's Dragonborn, who carries within him a potential reincarnation. And you have this dwarf who is reassembling essentially the Necro Sword.
Yeah.
Right? It's
He's
like
a God Slayer.
It's a God Slayer.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, and also, we have a god assassin.
Well, they'd be working for them, though, so
Yeah.
they weren't as concerned about him. So as the party celebrates their achievement of getting to the end of 20th level, the gods send the gods, plural, like all of them, send an assassination squad after the party, which is a bunch of angels.
Right.
So a bunch of angels like beam down from the outer planes to basically say, we're here to kill Kamal.
Yep.
And we're here to take the sword.
Yep.
There doesn't have to be any problem. You guys are supposed to be good. I don't know if you know what's up or if you know what you're doing, but these people are a threat and they need to go. So the party proceeds to start attacking the angels, and they're kicking ass and doing a lot of damage. So then the gods send in even more powerful angels to try to finish them. And it looking like a TPK. And Aaron basically is like raises his hand. Now Aaron is playing William Brandis, right, who is going to be the future King of Men. He is Aragorn.
Okay.
He's the reluctant hero who comes to greatness and then goes on to found a magical dynasty, probably marries an elven woman.
I did.
Okay, there you go. So like literally an Aragorn.
No, remember, because that was Ross's character's
yes.
Daughter.
Yes. So he stops everybody and he's basically like, and Aaron, this is all just dialogue off the cuff, FBT, right? Basically goes, I know you're listening, to the gods, like your agents are here, enough of this. And Aaron proceeds for about 10 minutes to give a monologue in which he basically berates the gods, calls them all bitches, says to get in line or get out of the way because we're not stopping with these guys. If we kill them, we're coming for you.
Dang.
And so the gods were like, I'm sorry, our bad. Everybody in the party get +2 to all of your 6 ability scores. We're sorry that we messed up and that we doubted your power and your thing. Because basically Aaron's like, you know who the real threat is. It's Vecna. You know that the only way that we're going to be able to stop that god from killing everything and everyone is if you let us do our thing. But you need to trust us. And the idea was that like he was so diplomatic, he convinced the gods to listen to him. And they did.
I may have raised my voice a little bit.
Oh, he was screaming. We said all the time. I was like, of all the times I could have had a tape recorder out, it would have been that speech because it was like literally like inspirational, but also kind of like, damn, this is like chilling to the bone. Like he's really laying out how like, well, we'll just wipe out everybody and everything because that party had a lot of complicated history to it. But again, this was this sort of evolutionary moment that just kind of came to things. So, but it really pointed to this leader of men and how this character. But again, this is a 4th edition moment. Nothing to do with leveling. Nothing to do with power. It wasn't like I remember this time use this really sweet power. Like no, this was just you giving a speech in the game, and it just shows you how like the moments that we remember. Don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some nat 20s that will live for free.
I have a moment that I remember.
Yeah.
It's not even from my game. It's from your game. Okay. Because you've told the story before.
Secondhand memories.
I don't know who did it. I thought it was one of your buddies. And it's not George Rich. I think Buddha maybe or something. I don't know. Did they ever play with you? I don't remember. It was the guy that showed up at the session with the broken weapon, the magic weapon at like level 1. And you're like, how'd you get this weapon? He goes, okay. And he goes, I found it on the side of the road.
Yes.
And you're like, whatever, sure, fine. And then you guys went through the whole campaign.
Well,
and
no. More importantly, I was like, that is the dumbest thing ever. And he goes, I go, why? And he goes, what do you mean you just found the magic weapon on the side of the road? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, dude, it's a magic weapon. Why would someone throw a magic weapon away on the side of the road? He goes, maybe some other adventurer just threw it away. And I said, why would they do that? They go, because they're so high level that they don't care about this small magical item. And I go, no one would ever do that, but I don't want to argue with you, so we'll play.
Yep. And then you guys went through, I don't know how long, a year
and a half.
Year and a half, and then the campaign's over, and he puts the damn magic weapon on the side of the road. I was like, when you told me the story, I was like, that's the best. That's like the best arc I've ever heard.
Right. Very like
even Derek was like, damn.
Yeah, because I was like, what high level character would ever do that? And then sure enough, he paid it forward. He's like,
so
took his
good.
item, set it down on the side of the road.
So that story I was not part of, but when you told me, I was like, that is. To hold on to that for a year and a half, like in the backyard, like if this ever ends, I'm totally doing this. It's
right.
Like the super long game. Like it's awesome.
Yes. Wait, are you saying you role played in 4th edition? Is the internet told me that is impossible?
Yeah, actually, we found out we were playing the game wrong, so we had to turn in our books.
It turns out that should have just been a skill challenge, and there should have been no talking aloud.
Correct.
Yes. I should have been like, diplomacy!
I was wondering if you had
map attack diplomacy!
What's that?
Did you roll any diplomacy checks during that whole speech?
No.
I actually, at the end, I picked up my die, and Derek was like,
We're good.
We're good.
So you were ready.
I was going to do it, sure, yeah.
Yeah. And to be clear, I mean,
it wasn't like it was guaranteed.
Right.
The gods easily could have been like, we're gods.
Yeah.
Well, it's also because like, what does the game care about? Now, in a game like 4th edition, I'm very comfortable saying, well, this game doesn't really have a lot of detailed mechanics for social interaction and to a certain extent, right? It has things that maybe interact with skill challenge. Yeah. That's the basics. But I would never shortcut a combat because that's what the game is all about.
Right.
That's what, that's what all the pages are dedicated.
That's what all the pages are dedicated. Like there's a certain point where I go, if you're sitting down to play one of these games, whether it's 4th edition or 5th edition, it's like there's so much meat in this game tied around combat. So like you gotta expect that to be a part of the game, And if you just are going to skip over that or shortcut it, it's kind of like, well, why are we playing this game? And this is why
I do think the occasional skip is fine. Like someone pointed out, if you're having like thousands of fights over the course of a 2 or 3 year campaign, if you miss the occasional fight because of clever player wittiness, like it's not going to break your game.
Agreed. But but
it shouldn't be the default.
But
why are you playing?
Right, because it raises an interesting question, which came up on the Discord the other day, which is, player agency. I want my players to do whatever they want to do. But if you create a really cool encounter that you think would be fun for them, and it's going to allow them to use all their cool powers or their cool 4th edition abilities or their Pathfinder 2 stuff, right? And you're like, this will be a really fun moment. And the reason the players would have fun with it is because they're going to get to engage in the mechanics. And they're going to have to make good choices. And we're going to get to see some dice rolled. This all sounds great. And so then the party does something that just shits all over that, right?
This was the devil's advocate for in favor of railroading,
right? This is like this is me defending railroading. So like the party goes, well, we're not going to go that way, or they go, oh, what if we just we found that cyanide back there, why don't we just pour that cyanide into there,
as one does,
and just kill everybody that way?
Didn't Rich burn the entire haunted castle?
He tried to. Right. Would you have ever thought to do that, by the way?
No, I didn't even know what I was going into.
Right. Bob's like, I think it's haunted, guys. Whereas like
that manticore's going to come to life.
Whereas like when we walked in, like as soon as I described the place,
we didn't even walk in.
You guys were like, oh, this thing's obviously haunted.
Do you want to go in and deal with that? Hell no. Let's burn it down.
Let's burn it down. Let's just burn it down. So,
I mean, it was just a house, right?
And I'll give you a great example. 4th edition D&D, this game that has all these cool powers and special abilities. At the end of our Paragon, there is an adventure where you have to fight your way into this shadow fortress. And then there is a tower, and you have to fight your way to the top of the shadow tower to fight this shadow dragon. The group was like, I think we can just fly up, and then I'll have line of sight, and then we can just teleport in. And I go, okay, but how are you going to get to the top of the tower? And they're like, we're going to have to fly up. And I go, oh, the tower is surrounded. And this is like, I'm not making this up.
Okay, it's literally
the tower is surrounded by a powerful storm of necrotic energies. Going through there, you'll take damage. And someone's like, how much? I make like an Arcana check. And I'm like, oh, it's 6d6 points of damage per round. And they're like, okay, well, we can fly this fast. And yeah, we can heal through that. We can heal through that.
Side note, game masters out there, don't have vertical tower dungeons where you have to get to the top. We played through 2, not 1, 2 modules where someone thought this was a good idea. And in both cases, completely trivialized, not the encounter, the entire dungeon, the entire module.
So the group skipped the dungeon, and then the group skipped the tower. And we played through this adventure, and if you ask them if we played through it, they say yes. But there are literal, I don't know, dozens of encounters that were probably pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they didn't get to play
That
them.
happened in Rise of the Rune Lords. We went up the tower with invisibility.
Oh, another tower.
Right.
And we went to the clock tower. It was a clock tower. And Tim's like, I'm going to cast invisibility, and we're just going to walk up real slow. And Derek's like, yeah. And then it's the flesh golem.
Now
and all
here,
sorts of stuff.
They're getting yelled at for that.
Yeah, he got yelled at for
This
that.
is the proof of the pudding, though. This is the proof in the pudding. You are absolutely right. So what Bob is referring to is in the second adventure from the Rise of the Rune Lord's Path, the Skinsaw murders, after you defeat the Skinsaw man, somehow, for some reason, the adventure doesn't end. It's horribly written. Instead, look, okay, anyways, I digress. Like, you go to Sandpoint, you do the first thing, you fight Nawalia, she dies, that's the end of the adventure. That's a great
the first
point.
one's basic, but it's a good adventure.
I think it's totally fine.
Yeah.
But the second
Only
one,
if I can reach her.
so the second one doesn't end at the Skinsaw. Instead, you then go into Magnamar and you have to fight.
Well, I found a note.
You did find a note. It was literally a note.
Tell me to go to the next thing.
Where you have to fight the person that was actually secretly behind it. But anyways, there is a tower that the party has to make their way up to fight the final boss of the adventure. And there's a golem in there. I think it's a flesh golem.
It's a flesh golem. Yep.
Tim cast invisibility sphere. And they basically, and then there's also like more cultists or skin changers or mimics, doppelganger type creatures around the thing. Party basically bypassed all of that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were upset about that, but they were rightfully upset because the way invisibility works in Pathfinder 2, that should have never occurred. Right. Because in Pathfinder 2, casting invisibility is not a way that you could skip an encounter.
That's right.
Because they made it so that you couldn't do that thing.
So you gotta play through all the fights.
You have to play through all the fights. You know,
that's the fun part.
Because
specifically grinding through the hit points. Because every time we talk about this, I'm just reminded of your epic thread on the Paizo forums. Trying to remember the title of it. Incapacitation: a solution in search of a problem.
Right.
He wrote it like a college thesis. It's amazing. But the I encourage you guys to go look it up. It's a great read. But the argument there was that it's more fun to whittle away hit points than to just kill something. Right? So all these things that like kill things, like they shouldn't work.
Yeah.
Or when they do work, it should be so inconsequential it doesn't matter. And this goes back to what I was saying before, right? Like the investigator wants to feel cool next to the wizard who can literally cast wish.
Yeah. So how do you balance that?
Right. How do you balance that? You either make the investigator have really crazy abilities, but then you're like, well, but then the verisimilitude falls apart, and we want verisimilitude because people can't stand it when a game doesn't have simulation as qualities. So I guess we better really rein in what the wizard could do. But okay, well then you need to redefine what a wizard is because we all have this preconceived notion of what they can and can't do.
Going back to that tower thing, though, I thought it was super cool when he cast invisibility and like we kind of snuck up the tower.
Sure.
I thought it was like
it
really
was cool. That's
Yeah.
how it used to
We
be.
still had a fight at the end,
Right.
Like it wasn't like we didn't do combat. We
But-
just skipped over some trivial.
But you didn't
combat.
maximize your fun because there were more hit points for you to get through.
Right. Well, then
he deprived
but
you
I am
of
telling
fun.
you, that game, that Rise of the Rune Lords was originally a Pathfinder. Well, actually, it was originally a 3rd edition module.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, and I could tell you that there was. I'm not saying this is the majority of people, but I am telling you that the people who at least posted on the internet and or told Paizo about it were like, ugh. I played this game with my 3rd edition party. I played this game with my Pathfinder 1 party, and they went to your cool tower and I spent my hard-earned money on this adventure, and they cast 1 invisibility sphere and they bypassed like 3 of the encounters. What am I paying you for? This game's terrible. My party can just waltz through everything.
Sounds awesome.
And Paizo thought, oh, that is a problem. You know, we can't have people just,
How do we get rid of this pesky agency?
I mean, Shadram even points out, invisibility doesn't even give you a bonus to your stealth rolls.
Yeah, that was always the funny one.
So in theory,
used to.
now granted, you're
That was
invisible,
funny.
Yeah.
so you can be hidden,
Which has mechanics. Yeah.
which means that they know what square you're in, though, because you're going to fail if you're not good at stealth, you're going to fail your stealth check.
Right.
And so then the monster's going to be like, oh, yeah, you're in that square. You have a 50% miss chance. Or I have a 50% miss chance. But the moment you attack, or anybody attacks, the whole spell fails in Pathfinder 2. So basically, I don't know how to say this. It does nothing. Invisibility Sphere in Pathfinder 2, as written, does nothing. It makes you all invisible, but that doesn't mean that you can sneak in anywhere.
Yeah.
Ironically, a group of a group of characters with good dexes and high stealth scores could use avoid notice in exploration mode to get into some place undetected.
Right.
They would be more successful at being stealthy than a character casting invisibility sphere on a party and moving in.
Which they're probably okay with, because that's not a spell overtaking a class now, right?
Well, that's why they did that.
Right.
They did that because back in the day, you had in 3rd edition, you had a thief or a rogue who spent all their skill points, and they got their stealth or their move silently and their hide, because there were 2 different skills, really, really high. And they're like, look at me. If it's a shadow, I can get in. No one can see me. And then like the 3rd level wizard goes invisibility.
Plus 40 to stealth.
I have a plus 40 to stealth. Also, I'm invisible, so no one can see me.
Right.
And it's like, oh, well, I'm glad I invested all. Because how could someone being stealthy ever compete with someone being able to turn invisible?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But in Pathfinder 2, it does. Because invisibility without stealth doesn't do anything.
Yeah, well, I get that you could be like loud and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
Right.
just because you can be seen.
Carzoni, congrats on the 10K. Thank you, Carzoni. Appreciate it. I'll give you another one that's crazy. If I'm invisible, I don't get a bonus to stealth. But if I hide behind a pillar, I get plus 2.
Oh, plus 2. That's right.
Yeah. So that brings us to this idea that here on the channel, or for our home game,
Yes.
and for the channel, we're thinking about what games we want to play next.
Smith wants to play this 4E game.
We've gone through
Heard about it.
10K subs, and
I do like it.
yeah, I mean, so I guess the question is, like, again, for those of you who don't know, we have a personal 4E game. And Joe says, couldn't you cast Invisibility Sphere in silence? You could, but per the rules of the game, invisibility and detecting invisibility is more than just seeing them and hearing them. It's noticing disturbances in the air and seeing the slight shuffle of dust on the footprints. Rules is written, Joe, even if you were silenced and invisible, you'd still have to make a stealth check against their passive perception. And if you failed, you were visible, or not visible. Sorry, you were hidden, which means they know they know that you're there. They know what square you're in. They just can't see you. We have a personal Friday game that we usually do not air or talk about too much. It's just our own personal private game. We also run games here on the channel, and so I guess the question is kind of like what as we kind of celebrate 10K. Where do we feel ourselves kind of at? Because right now we've been juggling a bunch of home games.
Which has been fun.
Vin has an idea.
Oh yeah, what's that?
He says, "Return of Rise of the Rune Lord. Let's go."
I still don't know how I would do that ever, but
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Somebody even earlier, I don't know who it was, but somebody was like, "Oh my god, like, are we ever going to see Quest for the Frozen Flame Part 2?"
I saw that pop up.
Yeah.
I would play I'd play Return
My liver
of
couldn't
Rise
handle it.
before I'd probably play Quest.
You'd play Return to Rise before you play Quest.
Quest 2. Yeah.
I
So-
would produce Rise before I would play Quest.
So yeah, I know. No, the plan is good, Vin. The plan is good.
I don't mind that. The plan did make sense.
Yes, yes. The plan was great. But anyways, we've been juggling kind of games in our home game for a while because we've had different play groups because we have one gentleman who is remote, and then Bob is sometimes out because of his own family responsibilities. So we've kind of had a group, but it's like, oh, when Bob's not here, we have this game.
There's
and
like
then when Bob is here, we have
game
this game. But when
So when
Cat-
Bob's not here, it's Traveler. Though that didn't really take off too well.
right.
And you guys played Fabulous Ultima once.
We did play Fabulous.
Yeah, that's almost like our
It's the free
wild card
slot.
game.
Yeah,
It's like our wild card
it's
game.
It's Derek into this month.
Yes, that is actually completely accurate.
When Kaz is out, it's AV
It's Abomination
Yes.
Balls, and when everybody's
Because we're
there,
playing tactical then.
because we're playing tactical there.
and when everybody's there, it's Legend.
L5R.
It's Legend of the Five Rings.
Yeah.
So those are kind of our current games. Let's take a pulse check. Let's take an assessment, gentlemen. We'll start with Abomination Vaults. Currently, you guys are on level 7 of the Abomination Vaults. You guys are character levels 8, I believe now.
Or like really close.
Or I
We
think
might be 7 on 7 now. I think we skipped level 6 and went to 7 to fight the Hydras.
you're on 7. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
we're
saying. But I
definitely on
thought you were 8.
Maybe we just leveled up.
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, you might have just
Yeah,
leveled up.
I'll have
But
to
yes.
check.
So Abomination Vaults, you guys are on level 7. Kind of roughly starting that part of the game, or that
There's
last
10
part.
levels.
There's 10 levels.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that game?
I want to finish it.
You want to finish it,
I don't like not finishing it.
but are you having fun with it?
I am a kineticist now, and
So
so
yes.
it's starting to be more fun. But we'll see, because I forgot how to play kineticist, and I got to go back and
I
learn
mean,
that again.
so the Abomination Vaults has sort of filled that role of being the sort of, we have our tactiles. It's very hastily drawn. I use a dry erase marker, draw on the map. We have minis, we have monster minis, we have player minis. We're kind of exploring a dungeon and doing the things that we do in a Pathfinder 2 setting. What about you, Smith?
I mean, so AV, we've often said this, right? Like, is probably one of, if not the best, Paizo adventure out there. Certainly in the PF2 era, which means it's about like a C+ in terms of modules overall. So I'm enjoying it. It's not bad. It's pretty straightforward, but definitely don't dislike it. It's been fun. I think it's good to like kind of play the game pretty much out of the book, because sometimes NR can distort your perception of what the game actually is supposed to be. So
That's
it's
true.
good to have an anchor point for me personally.
That's true. That's true.
Sorcerers are sweet. I'm excited to now I get healed because of Crossblade Evolution at 8. So
Belcora?
Belcora is the villain. It's-
Shocking.
Bob.
Shocking, Bob.
Yeah.
Shocking.
I'd like to get rid
I
of
am
her.
I am shocking.
Yeah, we got effectively 2 levels left to beat it. So let's just wrap it up.
Yeah.
No need to leave it hanging.
Yeah, and I
Especially if we're going to go into something that's also tactical.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying
put this to bed.
yes,
I'd like to
yeah.
be done with
I do not
something.
want to have 2 tactical games at
Yes,
the same time.
100%.
I also think like because Kaz is moving, which is super exciting because he's going to be like here.
Yeah, if you guys were fans of Kaz on, Kaz, of course, Thrawn the Barbarian, and of course Kaz plays Legend of the Five Rings with us remotely in our personal home games. Well, Kaz is in the process of moving back to Cleveland, or to the Cleveland area, and so hopefully we're gonna be able to get to play with him in person, not only in our own personal private games, but also here, here on the channel.
more.
Yeah.
Now, Roll for Combat, I was thinking about maybe actually playing Jewel of the Indigo Isles with the Patreons.
Yeah, Bob's a big fan of that. So.
Well, I just wanted to test it out and see how it worked, and I had to figure out how to do that. But I don't know if we're gonna play that for our PF2 game. I think we're gonna finish this and then, finish AV and then go in maybe 4E.
So the thing about Abomination Vaults is it's that, for our personal game, it's like that tactical D20 kind of hit points experience.
I don't want to lose Legend of the Five Rings, so
But
that's fun.
we also have almost completely opposite of that. We have Legend of the Five Rings.
Yeah, I just started doing some cool things.
and Legend of the Five Rings has been a really interesting experience.
It is.
Because
I need my quota of animal analogies from Smith on a weekly basis.
I'm way out of practice now.
but
I may end up reusing some.
the problem is that it's stressful.
It is. That's what I was going to say. L5R would not, for me, work as our long-term dominant every
Yeah,
Friday game.
I actually find it nice that we've been kind of bouncing around because it gives me like that. I kind of want to play it again. Then we play it, and I was like, that was a fun session.
Well, because I was
Right.
going to actually
Yeah.
say, Legend of the Five Rings, in my personal opinion, is actually fantastic for that. And I'll tell you why. Because XP is more or less constant.
Yes.
No, that's
Because the
true.
way that you earn XP in Legend of the Five Rings is you get 1 XP per hour,
Yep.
and you can earn a couple additional points if you complete relative milestones. So, if you play for 4 or 5 hours, maybe you get 5 experience points, maybe 6. But there's no leveling per se. But the costs for raising your skills and raising your abilities, which cost experience points, continue to rise.
Yeah.
So like if you want to go from 4 rings to 5 rings, okay, that's like 15 experience points or something like that.
Like 3 or 4 sessions.
So that's like 3 or 4 sessions to get 1 more die.
Yeah.
So like you can always progress,
Right.
but it just becomes glacially slow.
Yeah.
And so there's sort of we got a super chat.
This has been mocking Cleveland.
What do we got here?
He said, "Oh God, imagine moving to Cleveland."
You liked it here.
I think he liked us. I don't know if he liked living in Cleveland.
And that's true. Why do people stay in Cleveland? Well, because they have connections to people.
Yeah.
Right.
People are great.
That actually is accurate.
When I first started dating my wife, I was like, would you ever want to move out of Colorado or something like that? Because I've always thought moving sounds fun. And she's like, my whole family's here. I'm like, guess we're staying here
Everyone's
forever.
family's here. So
Guess we're here forever.
once you settle down in Cleveland, that's it. You're stuck here for all time.
That's accurate, pretty accurate. And so so Legend of the Five Rings is really, really fun, but it is stressful.
Super stressful, especially with Derek as your GM.
What is that supposed to mean?
I don't know if I found it
You
to
even
be
said
more
this the other day,
stressful
like
there.
we were at dinner or something like that. You're like, well, actually, yeah, I kind of feel like, what was it? Yeah, when I want players to make tough choices, I kind of realize that I really am trying to make them make tough choices, and maybe that doesn't work week over week. There's some good self
The
insight.
tea ceremony had some really tough choices. Like that was like a bunch of back.
To be
and
fair,
forth.
we knew that was the boss fight thus
Correct.
far of the campaign, right?
Yeah,
From
no,
session
I
one,
I just
we're
remember
the tea
I'm
ceremony's
trying
gonna
to do
kill
something,
us.
and it's like frustrating when someone else is doing something like opposite. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, no, I remember that conversation now because like I realized like I like, maybe I'm
You're big on seeing what a character's made of.
well, yeah, I like seeing what a character's made of, and the truth of the matter is, I can't test them using D&D games because they're going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the loss is not really that great either.
Right.
They're all dead.
Right.
Right.
And the loss in
So in Legend of the Five Rings, though,
So many ways to lose.
I could put you
glory
into
hits and like the
Yeah.
honor hits, like I feel those.
Right.
Like,
like
you're like take 2 minus an honor. I'm like, oh fuck.
right.
It's crazy. So I'm a pretty veteran
Yeah.
RPGer at this point, but when we got in that first fight, like my hands were shaking even worse than usual, even worse than Dread, right? Like it was intense
Well, then they're because fights are deadly too.
because the fights are so deadly, and
Yeah.
like you get into a fight, it's like, oh, what?
You better be in the right
We could
stance
die.
and make the right decisions.
I mean, even if you do everything right, you could just die.
Yeah.
like that's just how the game works.
I mean, to be fair, we had never really played Legend of the Five Rings with a Shugenja,
Yeah.
which is like a spellcaster,
Right.
and people were messed up. And Bob used healing magic for the first time
That's
ever,
awesome.
and called upon the water kami. I think
it was like this, like
It was like legit
late
magic.
season Game of Thrones moment where we're just like we're all playing by the normal rules, right? And like we're butchering Derek's people, he's butchering us, and like this shit's like permanent. Like you're done.
Yeah.
Like you lose an arm, it's gone, right?
That is very true.
And all of a sudden. It's like Bob's cheating, right? Because he just
yeah, all of a
unleashes
sudden,
magic.
all of a sudden, Lady Melisandre shows up and starts dropping fireballs.
And we're just like dun 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 dun. Like what the hell just happened here? Like my wounds are healed. Like the sword's bursting in flame.
Yeah, that was
These people are
sweet.
dead. It was amazing.
My Shugenja was baller.
It was awesome.
Not Shugenja.
Yeah, Shugenja.
Shugenja was
Shugenja, yeah.
baller.
Yeah.
But like what I was gonna say though is as intense as that was the least stressful moment for me in that entire campaign, because the only thing that could happen to me was that I could die.
Yeah.
Right, that wasn't stressful.
Right. And I mean, you really embrace the samurai kind of like vibe, right? Because it's like, oh, I could just be killed here. Huh. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I
Bob,
stood for myself.
the
What
Ceremony
about
was-
Bob? What about that duty?
What mine?
Well, no, what about that duty? It's
Duty is heavier than a mountain. Death lighter than a feather.
right
Yes.
there. You go.
I was like, Duty. I think my guy wants to
your
find
favorite
his
quote.
old person.
right, exactly. And so that, yeah,
In Legend of the Five Rings.
right, yeah,
Sorry.
like the
I wasn't gonna lose glory, wasn't gonna lose honor. I just needed, ironically, to roll dice and see what happened.
right. And so samurai definitely have that sort of Valkyria. I think that's a Valkyrian saying.
100%,
They have sort of that Valkyrian saying where it's just like, yeah, like, doing your duty. That's the tough part.
Right.
Death. That's a release. That your job is done.
The hardest part of the fight was before the fight.
Right. In fact,
Was getting to the fight.
there
Well,
is.
no, because Derek challenged,
Yeah.
and that was my choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Was your honor going to take a hit?
Right. Do I get called a bitch basically? Right.
They did call you out.
They call us out, or do I risk literally all of our lives
Yep.
purely for honor?
And you
We
risked
all-
everyone's life for honor.
Well,
listen,
which
we're
is
lying.
why
We
I
are
gave
lying,
you all
man.
honor bonus for that, because that was super honorable. You were basically saying, again, it's one of
If
those.
we'd been like dragging a crane, maybe not, but
Right.
we were lying.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
made
We ain't
total
lying
sense.
about being lying.
Hey-o.
We had a $5 super chat coming in from Save Versus. Hey, what's up, Save? Says, would you guys consider a short-term Cipher system game if not Space Patrol?
Which one's Cipher again?
Numenera. The thing about Cipher is there's a lot of game systems that, and I could critique some of my own stuff that I've created, where sometimes I'm like, this is just being different.
just to be different. Like Numenera, it's like it wants to use a d20. And it's this roll, but then like it's got this difficulty scaling, which is like it's 1 to 10, but then you multiply it by 2 so that it fits on a d20. It's like, so it's not 1 to 10. It's 2 to 20. You know, it's like, it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm not saying it's a bad system at all. I do think there's some interesting things about the game system for sure. For no other reason then, there are 3 basic classes: the warrior, the expert, and the mage. I love that part. That part is awesome. And again, most of what I know from the Cipher system is from Numenera, from the first edition. I have not picked up the generic Cipher, and I've not picked up the new Numeneras. I don't know if it's actually a second edition, but the ones that have the really confusing titles. And so, I can't say anything about that. But there are times where I look at the game and I go, I feel like this is taking a long way to get to the same outcome. And that doesn't always rub me the right way.
I feel kind of similar. Like I was interested in the setting a little bit, but that was like literally the only sell. And it wasn't again bad. It just, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of relearning the same things, but just with a hand tied behind my back.
Bill says, I still enjoy your Rise of the Runelords series. Good luck in your projects. Well, thank you, Phil. Rise of the Runelords, look, we're talking about the Legend of the Five Rings game. We're talking about that. Rise of the Runelords is what started this channel off. So many of you are here. We're here, but so many of you are here because you originally watched us play Rise of the Runelords. Because, you had Glass Cannon was still playing PF1, and even NoNat, who was sort of the original PF2 content creator, he wasn't playing. He was just talking about the game. So, I think we were kind of the only game in town. Certainly the only one that, actually tried to make an effort to put some, money and care and consideration into their audio and visual quality.
That reminds me. Is Hijinks coming off episode 4 anytime soon?
I do not think so.
I have not checked.
I do not think so.
They
added a fourth class. Say versus, they are dead to me.
Yeah, ruined it.
They are dead to me.
No way I'm playing it now.
The issue I had with Rise of the Runelords is that while it was fun, I felt constrained by the adventure path. I felt like
most adventure paths are.
Yeah,
yes.
That's
I felt like Damien correcting me. It is a multiply by 3, not 2. Thank you, Damien. But I was close. Again, that's me off the top of my head. But yeah, I just felt myself being very, very frustrated and wanting more and more and more to be like, I don't want to play by these rules. And I also don't want to play by this adventure path.
That's probably a sign.
Right. And so I just got really, really frustrated. And then other people have pointed this out. Most of the Pathfinder 1 monsters were usually really super highly complex, custom crafted NPCs. Because third edition worked that way, right? Where you built basically a player character to be used in one fight.
Monsters and players use the same system.
It kind of makes sense.
Yes,
it makes sense. It is a bitch.
Imagine if in order to make an encounter, you had to build 4 PCs.
Yeah, it sounds like, especially if they're like PF2 PCs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So converting those Pathfinder 1 or those third edition monsters into PF2 monsters became very, very, very bothersome. Yeah. And Boothby, I know, is doing this with Strange Eon, says, converting the monsters plus PC class from PF1 to P2 is a pain in the ass. Yep. Yeah. So that was kind of one of my main problems with Rise of the Runelords. So Legend of the Five Rings, very fun. It's a very good experience, and I actually think it's very, it's been very beneficial for Bob.
Yeah,
100%.
It's
been fun watching Bob get into it.
I was able to do stuff. I still think, actually, we were talking about memories. I still remember being able to use my power out of combat to call upon the spirits to kind of move the vase in my daimyo's bedroom to sort of
fake Connie.
That's a sign that Bob must go on this adventure. And I was like, how am I going to get on this adventure? I need to think of something, and it's not a fight. So what's on my character sheet that I can use creatively? That's not usually what you do. You're like, that thing does 6 damage.
Right. Well, also, too, that's not how APs are written. I mean, Derek Flat was like, Bob, I will tell you, if you don't find a way to get on this adventure, I think you're making a new character.
Yeah, I have to play as somebody else because I was really struggling. Like,
yeah, I know. You were like, because you failed the 1 check, and now you're like, what am I going to do?
Well, I mean, this is kind of like a side note.
Those were cool though.
But Bob's character is a Shugenja, who are the samurai caste who can talk to and communicate with the spirits, and they are basically afforded a unbelievably high level of sanctity in this world because they're literally very rare and they're also very important.
Yeah.
And so every Shugenja has a bodyguard who is sworn to protect them, a Yojimbo. So this is an NPC that Bob got because of the class he picked.
Right.
And she's like the second best warrior in the
Oh yeah,
in the
she's
party.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
she's incredible.
like it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's like the balance is not an issue here.
It's strange. It's
The
definitely a different
combat's
experience.
really interesting because like it's not your D&D combat, right? Because like when I'm in a fight, I'm not like in a fight with you, right?
Yeah.
Because like you're not a combatant, and like that's a real thing. You're not a combatant, right? Not saying you aren't. You're obviously devastating in combat, but like you don't fight, right? Kaz's character doesn't fight,
Yeah.
right? Like George's character shouldn't fight,
Mm.
but I don't know, man. Bad luck, I guess.
I also just like the idea of how the fights work because it's not like there's like a different level to it than just I have a sword, so I go up and hit him with an axe. You're like, no, what stance do I want to take?
Oh, yeah.
Because it means more. It means like the stance means what can I do and what can happen to me.
It was very puzzling. Like Derek
Yeah.
and I, like how we
that
were
one
like
where you can't
shifting
take crits,
stances.
is that
Earth stance.
Earth stance? Like
Yeah.
that could be very that's very crucial if you know that you're up in that fight.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot on the line there.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Right. Or like look at Kaz, who had high air ring. When he was in air stance, he's almost impossible to
even
hit.
hit Kaz.
Yeah.
He's like Aang,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, floating around the battlefield. Do
sweet.
you remember him in the social in the tea ceremony? The TN to target Kaz was like 7.
Yeah.
It was just like impossibly
Your
high.
badass super social character couldn't even do it.
Right. My NPC
You
raid
built-
boss.
Right. The boss. It was a raid. It was a raid boss.
Right. The
100%.
raid boss, social raid boss,
Right.
couldn't touch Kaz.
Right. That's why she had to go for Bob instead.
That's why she went for Bob
She
instead.
messed me up.
She went
I'm still
for
in love with her.
you still have that. Yeah. Your character is in love with her.
I 100%. It's narrative truth.
Yeah.
right.
That's also something I'm not used to doing, which I think I really started doing. We started doing in DX was like getting sort of a narrative truth on your paper. But like, yeah, it's like no, I wrote that on my paper on my character sheet. I'm now in love with that.
Well,
that
it was
person.
great, and PBTA does this really well, but so does L5R, right? Like that's on your character sheet, but it's associated with mechanic. Like there are rules
Yes.
that tell you what you need to do in circumstances where she shows up.
Well, that's it's like a weakness. What is it called in L5R?
disadvantage.
My disadvantage is
Yeah.
like that has a consequence.
So like, yeah, Derek can like use.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob, you have to re-roll that and take the worst because
Yeah.
she's involved.
Right.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
a mechanical thing that
Well,
just got placed on me, but it's
It's
I
also a
roll with
situation where the mechanics are prescriptive and descriptive.
Yes.
The mechanic does do something.
Yes.
It gives you this, but it also tells you something
Right.
about your character.
and how I need to play that out.
You're right. Like I would say, for example, a lot of feats in Pathfinder 2, D&D are prescriptive,
Yeah.
but they are not descriptive.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, what does that mean? You know, like it doesn't change the way that your character interacts with the world or how the world sees your character. It's just a feat. It's literally just a mechanic that has no bearing in the game.
It could be called Feat 38.
Right. Right. It doesn't need a title. It doesn't need like flavor, you know. It just is a thing. It doesn't really change anything. Whereas these are much more prescriptive and descriptive.
Right. I mean, they don't work without the name.
Well, in DTX we got goblin hatred, you know, and it was really cool.
Yeah, we were talking about the racism rules today on the
Oh,
Discord.
yes.
I was like, yeah, things that we need to scrub.
Well, you know, like look, that was part of the dwarves thing
It
in,
was.
in
It
old
was a
school
very-
games.
but it was
I
a
think
very-
that's even in 5th edition. I think dwarves in 5th edition still get like a +1 bonus against goblins and
that's
kobolds and all of their ancestral
I mean,
enemies.
there's vengeful hatreds in PF2.
I mean, it's true. Vengeful hatred is in Pathfinder 2. So there's still that element, even in Pathfinder 2, of this kind of ingrained cultural
They weren't
racism.
quite using our terminology.
Yeah. So,
But the
but
goblin hatred was interesting because it's
they
like,
just call it ancestral vengeance
Yeah.
instead of
So that's
calling
better.
it. Yeah, that sounds much better instead of
Because
calling
you
it.
used the word ancestor.
Right.
There we go.
Right.
But you would
Right. If it was called racial vengeance, I think that would be
That would be a problem.
That would be a big problem.
demonetized.
Right.
But no, it was kind of cool to put on my paper. I knew what it meant. I also knew exactly what it did. But it wasn't something that you just find in the book. It was because something we did in the
Right.
adventure. We specifically
We were racist.
murdered these
Right. Well,
goblins.
that is another thing too, which I think is huge, is diegetic. You know, you got that disadvantage not because in Legend of the Five Rings, not because of some
Level
up or
yeah.
something like that. It's because you got it. Like in Legend of the Five Rings, you gain disadvantages, you gain advantages.
Right, same way.
You don't gain them there is no leveling up. You get them by getting them.
Yeah.
You start the game with some because you go through a character creation process. But if you go through the game and your character,
becomes known for, becomes great friends with a member of the unicorn clan, you gain an advantage, friend of the unicorn. You didn't have to level up to get it. Why do you have that? Well, because I am a friend of the unicorn.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, it's
How do I get that?
the narrative informs the
Is
mechanics.
Is anything like that in 5e?
No.
Okay, so that's something that is interesting. How do you
Well, you know why it's
mechanicize
not in
it?
5e? Even though 5e doesn't actually care about this. The closest 5e gets to it is that technically in downtime,
bonds or
you
whatever.
can train skill proficiencies. Is that right? Or tool proficiencies?
Yeah. Tools and skills, yeah.
Tools and skills. Is it just skill or just tools or just
In
skills?
languages, yeah, they all have a different range.
Right. So in theory, in this
I
game,
think you can learn a new skill, actually.
if you spend a bunch of time, you can become proficient in a new skill. I thought it was maybe just tools. But anyways,
Yeah,
point
tools,
is,
skills,
if you have enough
languages.
time and money, you could be like, I'm training all skills.
Now,
But
can,
that's
but
that-
can you
without leveling up, without
can
gaining
you
experience.
mechanicize something like gaining advantage from a story or gaining a
Well,
plus
no,
one?
because the other thing to remember about
Like,
Legend of the Five
how do you
Rings
put a
is
mechanic
Legend
into
of the
that?
Five Rings has a section in the book about these, but they're just examples.
Yeah.
They give you quite a few examples. They're like 20 or 30 of them, but they basically say this list by no means is inclusive. Right? Like you should create advantages,
I like that. I
disadvantages,
like that kind of stuff.
passions, and anxieties as you see fit in your game.
Yeah.
I like that system.
That's your question, Bob. 5e in this context has things like bonds and flaws. Apparently, we were the only group to ever even use them at all. Like, I guess it baffles my mind, right? Because like,
Inspiration.
yeah,
One user
5e has
apparently.
this. I mean, it's not amazing
Yeah,
by
it's
our
not like
standards.
it's not like Powered by the Apocalypse or
but for
something.
like Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, holy shit,
Right.
It
A
was
character can point to their character sheet
Yeah.
and say, my character has this ideal. I am with upholding this ideal. My character gains inspiration
Yeah.
because they are inspired
Yeah.
by their holding to this ideal.
Yeah.
And apparently that is like one of the number one rules that nobody uses.
Interesting.
They just all
I
ignore it.
Well, I would like to make sure we put something like that
It's not
in
even
here.
an insignificant part of the book.
I know.
Yeah. But the reason though is because when you start talking about stuff like that, Bob, balance becomes an issue.
Yeah, and I don't care.
Well, a lot
Well,
of the
to be
game.
fair, 5e doesn't care either.
Well, that's no. 5e purports to care. That's where all the confusion and all the hate comes through. Is because nobody can read that book and tell you what it's trying to do. Because on one hand, it's giving you a bunch of rules, and it's not a rules-like game by any stretch of the
No, it is
imagination.
not.
So you're like, for a game that doesn't care about the rules, there sure are a shitload of them.
Yeah. The DMG is even worse.
Right? At least Pathfinder
Entire
2
systems that have no purpose.
Look, and I will defend People come at me all the time. I will defend Pathfinder 2 until the end. I think most people don't even defend Pathfinder 2 as much as I do, because I always give people crap about this. I go, you guys come at me about how like you like Pathfinder 2, the math is tight and all this other stuff, but you'll be the first ones to just start jettisoning systems out because they don't fit your ideal. But I'm like,
Were we talking about that on the other stream? Because I made a similar comment where maybe this was Discord, right? Where like everyone's like, you guys hate Pathfinder 2. And I was like the progression's hilarious because like we'll start off, Derek will do a show, right? Digging in deep on PF2. Someone joins the Patreon, and then they learn all the truths of the game. And then they get salty of PF2 and quit PF2. Whereas we're still going.
right.
Like this game ain't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but
Yeah.
like
Well, no, but I just mean even like in the sense that like,
well, they don't know how it like works.
Well-
Did they find out the truth? And they're like, oh, I don't like this game.
right. But I'm just saying, like, for example, like Pathfinder 2nd Edition actually has a fairly robust kind of social system in the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will go like, oh, that's one of the first things I ignore. And I go,
Oh,
and
I
I go,
actually enjoyed
but
it.
I go, but do you ignore Titan
It's actually
wrestling?
well defined. It's good.
Do you ignore Titan Wrestler?
Right.
Do you ignore Fleet?
Right.
Do you ignore
And when I'm talking,
Catfall?
when you talk about social, you're talking about like the request.
Yeah.
just
Like you have
everything.
the
Oh, I-
conditions, which are a big part
in
of
my
the
Northern
game.
Reaches map, I was really playing into
Yeah.
those. I was like, oh, you make a request. He's
Yeah.
now favorable towards you, or whatever it is. I can't remember where they were. I was looking them up at the time because I don't ever use them, but I'm like, this is a perfect situation. You're trying to get these pirates on your side.
Right.
You're making a request.
And the reason why I do that is because I said, at least Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it goes, look, we have a lot of rules in our game. And yeah, we have to put in the boilerplate text that every RPG has to have, which is, this game is yours.
Yeah.
Use the rules however you see fit. No,
GM can
okay?
make this
They put them in there because they're like legally obligated to. The fact of the matter is Pathfinder 2 goes, this is our game, don't fuck it up. Here are the rules, follow them. They work. And like, at least I can respect them for that.
Sure.
That's
5th
true.
edition has all these rules, and yet it somehow like claims to be like, look at us, we're a rules light game. No, you're not.
I don't think Dave ever said that.
Now,
Other people said that and they were wrong.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, no. D&D. No. D&D, WotC, has been very, very professionally ambiguous about that because they don't want to piss off anybody, right? They just want to be like
5th edition is an apology letter. Like going back like pre-popularity, 5th edition was 4 dudes in a room who didn't want to lose their jobs going, is this okay? And people going, we guess.
Right. I mean, 5th edition, and you know what? And the sales show that this tactic was correct. 5th edition is the ultimate expression of how can we offend nobody and
100%.
and baseline kind of sort of appeal to as many people as possible without pissing anybody off.
Which, by the way, is why I think they react so poorly when they do offend someone, like in recent history.
Right. But like that is why it is the world's great, why the game has exploded in huge popularity.
I know you haven't followed the playtest a lot, and to be honest, I don't follow it that much, but I'll check it every now and then. And like playtest 1 for 5.5, 6, whatever you want to call it, D&D 2024. Playtest 1 and the initial stuff that came out for it was actually pretty compelling. Like they were like, okay, we're gonna really come in here, we're gonna fix some things, we're gonna add levels back to feats, make these things more interesting. But then, and this is partially because of the OGL thing and everyone getting super pissed at WotC, as you progress through the playtest, they have rolled so much back where 2024 5th edition might be like, all right, we fixed Lucky.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Because people were just angry and mad and yelling. And Watson's like, no, please, we remember what happened last time. Don't do that again, you know? Well, I say WotC. I mean, the people actually working on the game, because I believe like Crawford and the few people who are still left, like, do legitimately love this game and have loved the game beyond 5th edition, right? And they're just trying to make this work,
right?
Dealing with WotC.
Well, I mean, like,
it's not like they even knew about the OGL.
We have tried to maintain a game with 50 to 60, 70 active players.
Yeah.
And you know how much of a juggling match it is just to try to keep all of those people happy. 100%. That's 70 people.
Yeah.
Imagine doing it for 700,000 or
I know
even
most of those people by their name, right? Like
even 7 million, right? Yeah. And the knowledge that no matter what anything you do, you're going to be crucified
100%.
No matter what decision you make.
They're in a tough situation.
Joe Castle had a good question.
Joe says, okay, so you guys play Pathfinder 2. So after you finish Abomination Vaults, if you continue to play PF2, because what would you play? Would you actually play? Would you play an AP and a homebrew, or are you done with Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Well, I think the answer to that, Joe, is for our own personal, remember, Abomination Vaults is our own personal private home game. We probably would not play Pathfinder 2 again, simply just because we just played it, and we do like playing and exploring other game systems. That being said, I do think that there's always a sort of home in our game system for sort of that grid-based tactical miniature game. And supposedly, either Thursday or this Thursday or next Thursday, I'm going to have Mark on the show for Mark Cipher, the co-creator of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And I know that Mark plays Pathfinder 2nd Edition full theater of mind and always does.
Yeah, Jason does too.
And Jason does too. And so I really want to get into that with him. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's other, if you have other questions for Mark that, that are more like scientific than we normally get to in our RFC streams, make sure you keep an eye out for that, because I really want to kind of understand that, because I don't even play Pathfinder 2nd Edition theater.
It's so pixel bitchy. Like how?
Yeah, like
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm intrigued too.
How do you do it? Like I know how you could do it, but like how do you do it without devaluing
exactly
the feats and the
exactly. So
to Joe's question though, I think what we would do would be like one shots on the channel.
Well, I mean, but I think he's saying for our home game.
Yeah, I don't think. I think we're if anything, we're probably moving into a different type of D20 system.
I mean, I'm not going to roll out PF2 ever for home game. I'm sure we're going to have interest.
Oh, it'll come back around. But the other thing about it, Joe, is more than likely.
I do want to test out some of the remastered stuff.
The other thing, Joe, is more than likely if Pathfinder 2 was going to be something. Most of my play group is also part of my channel. So,
hey, I'll see you on Friday.
If anything, what we would see is after the remaster fully comes out, it'd be kind of cool to go back and try to show something and showcase like how the game played differently. That being said, just from a viewership standpoint, Joe, is really tough for us to ever commit to anything like and a full actual play ever again.
APs are just a little too rough.
We are not Critical Role. Yeah. Critical Role can lose half their audience, and they still got like 10 million people watching them.
Yeah.
All right. When we lose 75% of our audience by like the 3rd or 4th episode, and by the way, that's not just us. That's a lot of people.
That's everybody.
We're already so small that it just becomes like
Yeah, we're down to the bottom.
You know, I mean, look, I value these guys' time. I value my own time. Me playing a game for 10 people is pretty brutal. You know, when there's other things that I could be using and talking about. So, yeah, so I think that's where we would go with that.
Yeah,
Joe.
I think if when Remastered comes out, I want to test some stuff out. So that's perfect for like encounters or like one shots, two shots, three shots.
Us too.
Like that.
You know, our day job is basically PF2, so like I'm not worried that we're not gonna play some PF2.
Yeah, George has a good question. Are we playing something on Friday?
I mean, I don't know if we're playing something, but we're all free.
We are all free.
Yeah, we're all. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
We should, George.
Well, that's the other thing. You know, look, and I'm going to be real with you here. I'm going to talk to you guys real quick here.
You're talking to George, or
I'm talking to the channel.
Okay.
Let me tell you something.
Just George and his accounts.
I very selfishly got into this business, not meaning for it to be a business. Bob and I.
Well, that part we know.
Okay, still not. But
we see that every day.
I selfishly was like, "Oh, this is going to be sweet. I am going to get to play the most games I've ever played in my life."
Has not been wrong.
Wait. No. I'm single. I have no kids. Right. I've got my group, my crew, but I also have access to this whole community that's kind of like,
yep.
You know, I'm kind of the shepherd of the community. I'm going to have so many opportunities to play games. And that has not been the case.
I mean, we played a lot of games.
We have, but we've also, you know, because of the schedule and because of the changes, like our Friday night home game has been very, very inconsistent for over a year. And, you know, we've had health issues, we've had family issues, we've had vacations, we've had work, you know, and they never align. And again, it's very different from when we were kids.
Yeah.
And then with the channel, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go play this game. And you know, that is part of the big reason why we introduced the Legend and Exalted tier. But even then, it's kind of like, man, it's going to be tough to even get 2 or 3 of those, you know, a month, let alone, you know, some of these people, it's like, who are playing on my own patrons on my they're playing like every day. Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm in an Avatar community game on Mondays.
Yeah,
I'm in Spaceship Fridays playing Traveler. I think that's what it's called.
It is called Spaceship Fridays.
It is called Spaceship Fridays. Yeah, I'm in Spaceship Fridays.
There's a PF2 game on there.
You know, there's a
4A game.
And I'm playing, and
I think there's a new 4A.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm playing in a play-by-post, and I also play about 2 to 3 Northern Reaches Ways games a week.
Yeah, they play more.
Oh, way more than that.
No, I'm saying individually.
No, individually. It's way more than that.
There's a few.
All right.
We had 1 week that had 36 games.
Yeah. So, follow-up question: Have you watched Glass Cannon Network? Aren't they doing really well playing Pathfinder 2? Heck, well, Glass Cannon is huge, Joe.
Yeah, Glass Cannon's 20x us, I think.
No, 20.
Is it they 20x?
That would only be 200,000.
Aren't there 200,000 subscribers?
Oh, on what? On YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah, but aren't they on Twitch?
Oh, they might be on Twitch. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I thought they were like 20x us on YouTube.
I mean, all I know is
they're
this.
big.
All I know is
They
this.
have
All I know
money.
is this.
They have talent.
Glass Cannon
They're funny.
podcast went on tour
Yeah.
where they went around the country and people paid a lot of money to get tickets to sit in the audience and watch them play games up on stage. So I'm guessing they're a little bit bigger than us.
Well, there's a few things. One, they're quite talented. They're funny.
Yes, they're also not
And
hacks.
you got to think also that when we're talking about people, like let's say there's a person out there that wants to watch a PF2 actual play, just like the D&D actual play. It's like, do I pick Critical Role or this person? A lot of people are going to pick then Glass Cannon because they're just bigger, better. And not to say that we're not good,
And
but they're
we
good.
would pick Glass Cannon.
I actually like them too. They're quite funny. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. And apparently Troy is hates Leshies as much as Derek, so that's pretty good.
Yes. Although someone did point out, I never saw this. I probably did because I didn't know who it was. But I guess like one of the before they just started doing PF2, I guess one of the Glass Cannon guys was like in our YouTube comments for Arise games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and was like shouting us out and being like, "Oh, you guys did cool."
Yeah, I mean, I like.
Yeah,
Glass
I mean,
Cannon.
I'll be honest with you.
And they play a lot of different games.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
which is what Boothby just said. Glass Cannon also plays. Glass Cannon is what I would love for us to be.
I mean, they're kind of the model, right? Like,
They are the model
even when we
because
talk
they're
about,
doing it, but they're doing it authentically, right?
Yeah.
They're doing it like they're not like
they're a good group of guys.
Yeah, they're not
chemistry.
playing. They're not playing like the.
Even the booth based point, like you know, I've been talking with these guys now about our next, what are we doing next, right? And one of the models I keep going with is like, you know, the 3-in-1, where it's like 3 games on, 1 game off, and the 1 game off is based around their concept of new game who dis.
Yeah, New Game Who Dis is sweet.
Right, but it's so fitting for this group here, right? Because like, you know, I know Derek's like he wants to have his perfect game, but assuming it doesn't exist, 'cause
It does not.
you can't tell Derek, you can play one game now for the next 2 years. Like
it
he'll
won't
lose his
work.
mind.
Yeah. I mean, Critical Role does it. Glass Cannon does it. Like I hear
Glass Cannon's like four to five times us, not 20. So I was way off. I thought they were a lot bigger. I knew their Patreon was much
That's
bigger
on
than
YouTube.
ours.
What's their Patreon? What's their Twitch?
Their Twitch is 23,000.
Their followers, but they said they pull in a lot of views on Twitch. Yeah, but even then, like, I mean, if you're getting 15,000 people watching you play, like, you're getting a lot.
Glass Cannon's doing a Dune adventure. That's so sweet. I like Glass Cannon.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, there's more games that I want to play than I have time to play, and there's more games that I want to play than I have players to play them.
That's also true.
You know,
they also have a good cast of the initial group,
right?
Which is like the 5 guys.
Well, because it's a lot different.
They get actors.
I'm willing to bet that the Glass Cannon people are full time. I mean, it'd be much different if I was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to pay you a salary of $150,000 a year to play games all day."
That'd be awesome. Sign me up.
You know, I think we'd have a pretty good group of people who would want to sign up for that. You know, I don't think we'd have the problem of people not showing up.
That's true.
So I respect what they're doing, but also realize, you know, they are getting well compensated for their time.
You know, we're looking at them now. I think it's important to understand like that could be a model where, like, you know, they weren't always that big.
That is true,
right? And you know, we've seen enough content creators. We've been enough in space. We know the difference between people who are like good and bad. And I think the most important thing is what you hit on earlier is sincerity. And I think why we have the base that we have now of people who come in here and not just like you know, throw us some money, but like actually get involved and like really passionate. Our community is so passionate. It's because we're not here hiring an actor and trying to like swindle someone into thinking that we're good so that we can go become the next YouTube sensation. Right. Our goal is not to be popular on YouTube. Our goal, first and foremost, is we really like role-playing games. Let's play role-playing games and talk about it.
And Derek's, I think, main goal, and he's always stated, is the education of role-playing games to people in general. Just started with just teaching me.
And I feel our decisions and how the channel runs, and you know, we joke about it all the time, but I actually think this is a good thing. Like, we follow that priority. The business of the channel is like 4th or 5th on the list of concerns, right? Because like, if this isn't something that we love doing, it doesn't matter how much money this brings in. We're just not going to do it.
And that's exactly the point to what Damien just said. He says the Dork Tales channels do 5 EAPs to pay the bills, and then they run World of Darkness or Chronicles of Darkness streams because that's what they like. We're just not willing to do that part.
Yeah.
You know,
job,
and by the way, there's the real tea.
Just a little bit more than us.
12,000 patrons.
Yeah.
Assuming it's on a maybe like a when they publish you pay model, but it could be a monthly model as well. A lot of patrons that do, you know, they're like every time we post a video, it pays you. That's how Patreon was designed originally. But let's just assume that most of those people are paying, I don't know, $10 a month on average. You know,
I would think so.
You know, they might have a $5 tier, but they might have a higher dollar tier.
$5 a month.
Okay.
Booth B, how much are you paying per month?
Right. So they're making $120K a month on just Patreon.
Yeah.
I mean that is a lot of scratch. You know, you can do a lot of set design.
And assuming they get even half of their 20K watching their shows on Twitch.
Perfect. There you go.
Yeah.
Good call.
Like if you got 10K people watching you on Twitch, that's half their base. Half their base shows up to watch the game, right? Like Twitch is writing you a check.
Oh yeah, right. You're getting tips. You're getting bits. You know, you're getting the whole kit. Yeah. So let's just, you know, conservatively they're doing. Again, let's just say conservatively they're doing $250,000.
They didn't wake up one day.
No, of course
look
not.
around the room, go, hey, you got all these cameras, Derek. We should film the game.
Well, let me be clear.
And then have 20,000 people.
Let me be clear. There is no. Let me tell you. We're 10K. Let me tell you something. If somebody asked me, Derek, how do you get to 10K subs on YouTube, which seems like a lot to me, and I would say I have no fucking idea.
Agreed.
Because I have seen people that were now, yes, I do believe that myself, my friends have a unique perspective. We try to get into this game with an eye towards professionalism and trying to produce a quality product. And, you know, we've always invested in heavily into that. And I did have the luxury of a failed photography business.
You had time.
That gave me.
There's that business sense, right? Take a crippling failure and turn it into an opportunity.
Right. Got a lot of strife on that role, but a couple of opportunity. And so, you know, I was able to invest a lot of money into a channel that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do. So I did all that. Okay. So I had think about that. I had a literal
my own studio.
That studio, by the way, the sign's still up.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I drive by it a lot.
So I had my own studio. I had professional knowledge of lighting and cameras. Okay. I invested tens of thousands of dollars in audio. I've been playing D&D or its derivatives for over 30 years. Okay. And it still took us over a year to become monetized.
Yes.
That's like 1,000 subs, people.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is I feel like I had every advantage that you could have, and I still kind of sort of barely did it. You know, and also case in point, there are people out there who have 3, 4, 5 times. You know, there's a lot of people out there that have 100K subs. They got that silver play button, and I'm not a guy for kudos or praise. You know, I'd rather have the check than the plaque. But I won't lie. There are times where I go, man, I'd love to get that silver play button.
I like that kind of stuff.
At 100K. But I also understand that there's nothing, the way that we are set up, there is no way we were ever getting to that.
Unless we become a woodworking channel.
Unless we become a woodworking channel.
Overnight, we'll get a silver button.
Which my
And
wife
then the
just
next
brought
day-
up the other day. She's like, "Are you gonna start working on that table? Because then you could film that." And I'm like, "We've talked about this."
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
by
a
the way,
big
for
link.
anybody who is not a member of the Discord, although you should be a member of the Patreon so you can join the Discord. I finally finished my bathroom remodel, which means
Looks
that
great.
my bathroom, vanity, mirror, shower, all that other stuff is now out of my garage, which means that now I can get my garage set up to be a workshop again,
Nice.
which means that we can finally build Bob's coasters.
I was gonna ask if you were gonna say the table, and I was gonna interject with my cup holders.
Yes, with your cup holders. But no, seriously though, we're going to be doing a series where we're going to be building a table or two for a lucky patron. Unfortunately, we had hoped to get the table built and delivered this year. Instead, it's looking more like it's going to get built this year and delivered next year.
Around August 22nd.
Vin has a
Yeah, August 2022.
Vin has a super chat.
Oh, what do we got from Vin?
I said KOLC LLC, better known as Cocklick,
Cocklick.
is where the money's at. Let's go.
Yeah, that's the
He
other
wants
option.
us to start publishing stuff.
Yeah, so that's the other option is, you know, do we as a group, I have my own reservations about that. You know, we've seen other content creators try to publish stuff and not do so well.
Still waiting on no nets.
Right. I didn't want to say names, Bob.
Oh, I mean, I bought it.
Okay.
I have to keep it up on it. Is there problems there?
It's just everything on Kickstarter is just so delayed.
Right.
I mean, I backed this other Patrons, or not Patreon. I backed this other Kickstarter for PF2, and the same thing. It's just like it's delayed almost a year. It's just like once you actually get into it, it's
that's
more
an
than you
opportunity,
think.
though. I
Wait,
mean,
wait, I want to be very clear
be.
here. Donnie, I paid a drywall guy to come in and fix my drywall patch because it was bad. Okay. I didn't pay everybody to do it. I paid one guy. In fact, if I was a smart man, I would have paid. I would have paid a lot of money and just had it done because never again. Okay. So no, I hired one person to fix my terrible drywall
You'll
job.
build 2 tables before you'll do a bathroom again.
Yes. Building a table, way easier.
because he has to build 2 tables.
Well, we're going to build 2 tables. That's not a question.
But yeah, so anyways, if we make something, it's got to be good. You know, that's the long and short of it. And so, you know, I do think that, you know, there's a place for sort of the small press micro publisher, you know, doing a Kickstarter and getting a couple thousand backers.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be awesome.
That'd be really cool.
I mean, Bob, what you just said as a problem is absolutely an opportunity, right?
What, the super long delay?
Yeah, because we could show up to a Kickstarter with things like the book basically written.
Oh, those are my favorite, where basically they say the product is done. When you back this,
Yeah,
you
we'll
get the
send you
PDF
PDF.
immediately. What you're paying for is, look, printing is expensive, shipping is expensive. If we could do that in bulk and we can get a lot of people together, then it's a lot easier. So yeah, you're going to get.
What are your stretch goals? You gotta have stretch goals.
See, I don't
If you're
like
Kickstarter, you gotta have stretch goals.
I don't like the stretch because here's. Can I ask you a question? No.
literally
Can I-
will
wait.
tear up for stretch goals.
Wait, can I ask
or
you-
unlock early for stretch goals?
What can I ask you a question about the stretch goals? What is the point of that?
What do you mean?
So let's say there's something,
Yeah.
and you back it.
Yeah.
Let's say, you know, it's the Kickstarter starts,
Yeah.
and you back it, and it's got, you know, a stretch goal at 10,000,
Yes.
a stretch goal at 50,000,
Yes.
stretch goal at 100,000, stretch goal at 200,000, stretch goal at 300,000, $500,000. They've got your money. What difference does it make what are you doing to make the stretch goal happen?
Usually the idea is that you
Actually, if anything, the only thing that's going to happen is you are going to be disappointed.
no
Because you thought
you share it. They'll do things like there's other like I did do this for Archon Studios. And what they would do is like we can also unlock stuff for the amount of shares that you do, like on Facebook shares, Twitter shares, stuff like that. Because the more the word gets out, the better the stretch goals are for people.
So shitty base level marketing.
I mean, they already doing the marketing, and then they're adding on to the marketing. And the idea is that like we haven't what a lot of times like for the
Ray's exactly right. The stretch goal's a lie. Oh, you think they were going to ever publish the game like that? Of course they weren't.
So the ones I
Oh wow, really? You mean their whole entire base model was on the assumption that they were going to be selling one book, and now we're getting 17?
No,
wow, they must be bankrupt because we got them really good.
You don't do enough Kickstarters. So the idea is
I do a lot of Kickstarters.
Well, I do a lot of them too. So the idea is a lot of times they'll do like alternate art covers that they got to pay someone
you
to
do
go
all the
do.
clickbait shit.
But that's what I'm talking about. You got to have those kind of stretch goals. You got
personal
artwork.
No, you
in there.
don't.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Color copy. Like sometimes the
I'll tell you
companies
what,
have
Bob.
not even done all the modeling. They're like,
You don't have to back
modeling.
our Kickstarter, okay?
I'm telling
you
you,
will
gotta
not.
have
You can
stretch
look
goals.
at it and be disappointed.
Stretch goals.
We'll sell it to people who are excited about getting the PDF immediately upon backing.
Yeah, I am a big believer. Now, listen, I'm not
Stretch
saying
goals.
I'm not saying that there can't be tiers. Okay.
Well, you gotta have both. You gotta
Okay,
have
I'm not
tiers.
saying that you can't have like a premium edition, full leather edition, or whatever.
That's fine.
I
Yeah.
think you can have those. I just think the whole concept of
stretch goals.
it's horrible.
Stretch
It's
goals.
bait and switch.
It's not bait and switch.
It is bait and
It's-
switch.
if we can get enough money into this thing, we can do more things
All
with
right, we
this thing.
got-
That's what it is.
but what? It bothers me
It's okay.
how
It's
manipulated.
okay. Bob does nothing with product. Do not raise your blood pressure.
all right.
Everything he says, we ignore.
Okay. And yet Bob is the everyman.
So what are you trying to say? You're trying to get people like me to buy more product. You got to have them stretch goals.
It's fine. We'll have FOMO on our side. So when you go, there's no stretch goals, I'm not going to back. I'm like, oh, well, I
that's
guess
not
you
true.
don't have this sweet thing.
I will still back
Oh,
without
wow,
stretch
look
goals.
how cool this is. Oh, you can't.
I back without stretch goals. I just like
Well,
to.
good. Then there's nothing to talk about. We win
That
anyway.
I also back more often when I see sweet stretch goals and then I get
In fact,
hype about
also,
that. I get hype about
I would
that.
think that stretch goals. When I see a Kickstarter
Yes.
that has stretch goals, you know what I do?
It's going to delay it.
I click follow. I don't back.
Yes.
And I go, I'll check on the 23rd minute before they cancel.
You're not wrong there. That one I've done that before too.
Yeah, because I go, I want to see what I'm getting.
Yeah.
I want to know what I'm
Yeah,
buying.
why would I put money in?
Why would I put my pledge
done
in
that.
if
I've
I
done
don't
that.
know what I'm getting?
Yeah.
I've
That's
done
the
that.
dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire
But a
life.
stretch goal is a great hype meter. Like,
It's all about the
just-
hype.
It brings it up. You got to watch that progression happen. You hype it up. You share it, and you raise the stakes for the whole group as a whole. It's actually pretty cool.
So hard to be in your face.
Oh my God, it's so bad. Okay, we got a super chat from Vin.
He said a stretch goal,
No, he said best stretch goals would be art or alternative.
which is a good one that
hardcover.
I've seen. They'll do like artwork that they'll put in as like prints. They'll do alternate prints and stuff like that.
By the way, I missed who said it, but somebody was like, "Thank you." I think stretch goals are horrendous. And then Pumpkin's like, whenever I see stretch goals that don't make it, I definitely get disappointed, right? Because it feels like you've taken something away from me.
Right.
Oh wow, I really wanted to get that, and what? And here's the thing: I gave you the money. You were prepared to give me
Yes.
that
For
for
the
my
PDF
for my
or the
$100
hardcover.
for my $100 pledge.
Yes.
You were prepared to give me the special bonus dice set.
Correct.
But now I don't get it because a bunch of other people didn't sign up.
Yeah, because that's going to cost us more money.
Yeah, but there's more.
But
no, no,
that's
but
not
there's-
what's actually
But
happening.
there's more people, so you're having to do it over a wider range of people. Let's say the desk. You know,
But if you're ever getting a certain profit margin, that increases over the time, or we're getting more people, so then we can do more things for the group.
right. So in other words, you are trying to manipulate me into doing your marketing for you, so that I can theoretically benefit, but I'm under no guarantee that I will. In other words,
That's fair.
you're having me work for you without guaranteeing me any payment. You're going to pay me in exposure.
But again, we all win if it goes up. Right? If there's more stretch goals, I get more stuff.
It's disturbing. how-
No, you're not winning.
There's some great stuff here, I'll say. Not doing stretch goals is like Derek not going live for a year. Stretch goals should be hidden, in my opinion. That's not the way. Sindaria says this whole conversation is exactly why it took a year to get monetized.
Yeah, that's fair.
That is 100% fair. All right. Well, we're way off the reservation now. So, long story short, we've been playing Abomination Vaults. We've been playing Legend of the Five Rings. We want to finish our Abomination Vaults.
Yes.
And then maybe play 4th edition D&D?
Yeah. Or now, are we saying just home game? Or are we talking about
This is
on
a
the
home
channel?
game. Home
game.
game.
I would like to, if we're gonna do tactical, because we're doing a little bit more light stuff on the channel, then I want to go into like a 4E realm.
Yeah.
Now stuff for the channel. I know we're talking about going Fabio Ultima. So
Did you see? Somebody posted an amazing story. They basically were like, you know what? I'm going to read it because.
Okay, while you're bringing up, my thought was we're playing Fabio Ultima. So, and my thought then we would play something the opposite.
Sure.
Like a tactical game where we're leveling up. Even though you level up in
Note
Fabio
very
Ultima,
importantly, 4E is not cinematic. However,
Yes.
it's just tactical.
Yeah. So
Should they even describe their game?
So to that extent, at home, when our AV game is done, I want to replace it with something that's like that. And we'll probably still be playing Legend of the Five Rings, and then FU would be on the channel. It was my initial thought, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we were about to start a home FU game, and then we're like, oh wait, now it's for channel. We don't want two of these.
I don't want to run, even if a game that I love, I wouldn't want to run it twice.
Yeah.
And so we were super excited for a Fabula Ultima game, but then unexpectedly, so many of our patrons and viewers were like, Fabula Ultima.
Like we made a campaign where we were.
Yeah, I know.
You weren't there for it.
That was the one day I wasn't there.
Yeah. So I thought it was a pretty sweet
It was
world.
pretty sweet. I was excited. Now we're like, oh wait, we gotta.
And I like the characters. So this was a post from Test in our Discord, a member of our Patreon at the night level, who came into our Fabula Ultima chat. We have a whole separate chat channel just for Fabula Ultima.
We have everything that you're going to want at home.
It says, my party wiped on a boss encounter with a minor villain, and I couldn't be happier. This was their 5th combat, and I had noticed that they never heal, they never work the turn order to their tactical advantage, they don't use the study action to learn about the monsters, and generally just attack. In the fight, I included a villain, which was a champion 3, meaning it's designed for 3 PCs. Brute-style boss with a high physical defense and a debuffer and a grappler with a grab ability. The affected target can only use the objective action to try to break free of the grab until the clock is complete. Round 1, the grappler grabs a PC, and for 3 rounds of combat, nobody other than the grab PC contributed to the 4 clock, effectively removing them from the combat. The debuffer inflicted poison on all of the PCs, and the shaken and dazed conditions on another one, they never cleared any of their statuses.
Oh boy.
After a few rounds, it was obvious that the battle wasn't going their way. But this is where it got interesting, because we were headed for a TPK. One of my players, an Earth Elementalist, used an enemy's fumble to declare that there was a loose hillside next to the battle. They then use a ritual to start a 6 clock to let them escape if they could fill it. The elementalist asked questions like, if I use earth magic, will it be easier to fill the clock? Hell yeah, it's easier. While they started to fill the clock, the grappled PC was downed and chose to surrender. As part of the surrender, I had the villain take the heirloom that her missing father gave her on the night he left. In response, she added a bond of hatred towards the villain.
Nice.
The party managed to fill the clock and escape from an otherwise hopeless battle. In the rest scene following, each player added either a bond of hatred or inferiority to the villain and swore revenge. They started talking about the encounter, like why we didn't clear our statuses, why we didn't heal, why we didn't try to break the grapple. They were so stoked to fight the villain again, and they'll get the chance too. Their villain is now on a 10 clock, and after it fills, the villain will return. The game turned what could have been a TPK in a D20 game into a compelling narrative that somehow left the players feeling awesome and invested despite losing. I'm stoked.
Wow. That was great.
That sounds like a great FU experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's what
you want.
That's what you want. That's what you play that game because you want those moments that convert like that. So yeah, I mean, I think Fabula Ultima looks like a fantastic game. Dune looks like a fantastic game.
I want to play Dune when the movie's coming close to the movie.
I'd love to get 4E back to the table, you know. I think you said something too, which I agree with, which is like even if
me reading material.
Yeah, if we play like we shouldn't
I own to make up.
I think we just commit to like maybe a tier or a half tier. And then we just feel it out. There's no like, we have to get to 30.
Got it.
You know, like I would rather, and this is advice I would give to any GM, appreciate the game sessions that you have, not the ones that you didn't get to.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I mean? I had this mistake
and I still sometimes struggle with this. I'd be playing a campaign and a new cool book would come out or a new cool module or a new cool thing and it had a cool system. I'd be like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, but I don't want to put it into this campaign because this campaign's kind of shitty. And I want to save it for that perfect campaign. I don't want to waste the good surprise on you. And the fact of the matter is, there is never going to be the right time. You know what I mean?
And you end up not doing both.
And then just end up not doing any of it, you know? So
how many books sit on your shelf that you haven't played?
Oh, so many. Yeah. How many supplements? How many monsters? How many? You know what I mean? You know, use them. Use them or lose them.
Talk about this game. We played literally. We played one player's handbook.
Right.
All right. So just the classes in this and the way 4E works. You know, think of this as almost like the advanced player's guide in BF2. Like we never really in a campaign we dicked around for small stuff. We never played with the barbarian, the druid, the shaman, the warden. We never played with the avenger, the bard, the invoker, the sorcerer. Some of these are like the best classes, not just in this game, but like ever made. You know, like we played one massive 4E campaign, which took 2.5 years with this book because this is what came out when the game was released. Over the course of the next 2 years, they released the other books, which we were aware of and we owned, obviously, but didn't play. And then after that, I would say we had a couple other 4E campaigns that were pretty smaller in scale, but like...
Well, Northern Reaches was pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, it was heroic, you know?
Yeah.
But,
it didn't go to epic.
That's what I mean. Like, we had that was heroic. We had Ancient Kingdoms, which was heroic, and its own thing, kind of.
Yes.
But, you know, yeah, we never... There's so much material in this game that we just didn't even get to.
But I mean, I think that's true of so many different game systems.
Exactly.
And I feel
I'm more wanting to see how monsters
and
act and stuff like that. I'm interested in seeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other thing too when we were talking about. Like,
which reminded, like, we should probably do a review at some point. I don't know, of that Flea Mortals book because that looked really compelling.
it's a great book. I'm a big fan.
Which one?
The
Flea
one
Mortals.
that Matt Colville made, where he basically
the
just took,
bestiary?
he basically just made 4E monsters
I
into
would
fifth
definitely
edition.
review that with you guys.
Yeah,
that book looks sweet.
It's fun. I really you and I were going through it the one
Yeah.
day just for fun, and I very much enjoyed going through it. So
Yeah, I like the layout of it. Not so much some of the color graphic stuff, but the layout was nice and the way like it was positioned to read. That's nice.
Yeah, the color scheme was wanting. I get why they did what they did.
Yeah.
They didn't want to take it too far away from 5e, right? But
Well,
yeah,
we'll save the review for another time.
Yeah.
So thank you again, everybody who's been a part of this. You know, we love just having these conversations. I mean, sometimes we do live streams where we stream for 90 hours about ranking every single Pathfinder 2 feat. Sometimes we wax philosophical about a vague concept or other idea. And sometimes we just... we just kind of bullshit. So, tonight you kind of got a chance to hang out with us. Thank you so much for everybody who came out and supported us now, in the past, whether you were here from the very first horrible video of
that opening video. Derek is so serious. Welcome to Rise of the Runewords. Our heroes are going to go on an epic adventure. I'm talking about Bob, who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
I was an alchemist at that point.
He's an alchemist.
That wants
and
to be a
Bob is going to
barbarian.
hate it. And I told him he was going to hate it, but he didn't care because he thought it was cool for some reason.
that is true.
Episode
Self-confessed cynic with
boy.
we'll go out on that. She goes, God, you're making me want to run for you again. Maybe I'll just custom multiply that. Oh, right.
Yeah, Vince, I don't like 4E because it's not Yu-Gi-Oh numbers.
Yeah, he wanted everything to be times 10, times 100. But yeah, I mean, regardless of what we end up playing at home or on the channel, those experiences translate to you all. The games that I'm interested in, the games that we're getting hyped about, the old loves, the old flames that we're sort of revisiting, that all comes back as content to you. There's no doubt there is an absolute bias on this channel for whatever we're feeling. It's not some carefully crafted, structured component. Otherwise, you'd be getting nothing but 5 new builds for the Warlock. Here are 7 new feats inspired by the BG3 game for your home 5e campaign. That video would get more views than this entire channel has ever gotten in its entirety. I'm talking about lifetime.
Yeah.
We don't do that because, number one, I don't know enough about 5e to make that video.
Or BG3.
I definitely don't know enough about BG3 to make that video. And most importantly,
That's just not what I'm interested in right now. That doesn't mean I don't like those things.
It also means that. It also doesn't mean that in the future, if like you all of a sudden got really into Dungeons and Dragons 6th edition.
I'll give you the great example.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't paid attention to any of these Arcana Unearthed Arcanas that have come out. Let's say D&D 6th edition, whatever they're calling it. I mean, look, I was hyped about this years ago, and I said, and people said if you go back to the beginning of this channel, I said there's going to be a new edition of D&D in 2024. It's the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. How do you not? If D&D, the 6th edition, whatever you want to call it, if it comes out in 2024 and it's amazing, why wouldn't I play it?
Exactly.
Like, I don't care.
I mean, we'll probably play either way just to see what the hell it is.
Of course, it's Dungeons and Dragons. How are we
We're
not?
not going to not own Dungeons and Dragons.
Right, exactly. So my point is like, I'm not on a mission. You know, I'm not.
Oh,
let me
got us good there.
Let me be. Sandaria, I've been fired. So
that's true.
He
is fired. You have to now take that request up with me.
Yeah, I am fired. The owner of Cocklick Enterprises, was informed by my head of product development that I, in the role of writer and content creator, had been fired from our publication team. So,
and then you, was all as quite above CEO, decided to agree with that decision.
Yeah, I approve that. I approve that.
The board backed me.
Yeah, the board backed you. Actually, I was like, wow, I've really installed a really great person in that role for being able to make those kind of hard decisions. Long story short is I don't have an agenda here. I'm not sponsored. We never have been. And you know what?
We don't have
and the way that things go on this channel, we never will be. Yeah. And I know that there are other content creators out there. You know, Rules Lawyer is one of them. I like Ronald. I just did a collab with him. Check out his video about, I think Willard was my character's name.
William Brandis.
Right. Rules Lawyer, right, wrong, or indifferent. He is, kind of like, I am the Pathfinder 2 evangelist guy. I'm trying to sell people on this system. Okay? That's not me. If a better system, I like Pathfinder 2. It's a game system that we talk a lot about. It's a game system we're playing currently in our home game. If a better system comes out, I'm not going to stick with it because I'm got some sort of stubborn, fucked up pride.
But also, you like all TTRPGs.
Yeah, yes, but that doesn't mean they're all good, though.
No, but what I mean is you will at least try to play them.
Right.
Or at least read it a little bit of it.
Sure.
Not fatal.
Yeah, not fatal. So, again, I'm just trying to say, for me, if I read a game and it's exciting, I mean, for all I know, by this time next year, this channel is a Matt Colville DM combat channel. I don't know. It could be.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, you read Fabio Ultima. We're like,
could be was it Daggerheart?
Yeah, it could be Daggerheart.
Yeah. And then we will probably play that too.
Yeah, I mean, of course we're gonna play Daggerheart.
Of course we're gonna play that.
Yeah.
We're gonna play Daggerheart. We're gonna talk about Daggerheart. We're gonna review Daggerheart.
I don't know if we'd play the other one, but
which one? Candela Obscura. Yeah, we already played Blaze in the Dark, and it's basically the same game.
It's true.
It's like Blaze in the Dark Light. Ray bringing up, that was an old video idea. Wow, Ray, that's an old idea. You need to make those videos for second edition, like how to make Bruce Lee with second edition. Remember, remember we were going to do all those how-to videos, and then we tried to film some of them, but then you and I are horrible when we're scripted.
Oh, scripted me is not watchable. Scripted me is not watchable.
I'm very quick to make fun of you. I couldn't even make fun of that. I'm just like, whoa, this is just bad.
It just takes me. I have such bad dyslexia that it's so hard for me to read. So I have to read like this so I can focus on the words.
I mean, for me, the main problem with it is, when I'm talking to you guys, or even when I'm talking to the chat, everything obviously that's coming out is natural, and I'll crack jokes and make things. But again, it's just in the moment. There is something to me that is so inherently cringy about writing.
Man.
Casual interjections, like writing a joke when you're not a joke channel. If you're a comedian, that's fine.
I was gonna say because what's his face does it? The Screen Rant guy.
Yeah, but the Screen Rant guy is a comedy channel. To be like,
he's super good at
I'm doing an informative. I want to inform you about something. If I'm writing a script for
this is going to be funny.
I'm going to write a technical document. I'm going to write all right, hey everybody, I'm here to present to you this information. I'm going to do it in the most succinct way that I can, and bring this information to you. I'm not going to be and then I'm typing and I'm like, then at this point, insert a dump. Make a joke like you just came up with it. It's it just feels so cringy to me. Cringy. And I did not like. There's only one video on this entire channel where I did something scripted.
Oh yeah, which one was that?
I believe it is the
one of the reviews?
Yes,
Class reviews.
it's
Scion?
it might be the Scion or it's
Oh yeah, because you
the
had like bullet points.
or it's
and
the
you went through.
thaumaturge.
Yeah.
It was one of those two. You had the bullet points. I think it was the Scion.
The play test.
Yeah.
The play test
Yeah,
review.
it was early on.
I wrote down because everyone was like, Derek, please, I don't have 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's just the play test, dude.
Right.
Just jot down your ideas, talk to the camera, hit the record
It was
button.
a 20-minute video too.
And they were like a 20-minute video. Yeah.
Mikey the Goat says Flea Mortals is terrific. So
Yeah. Again, I haven't
it was
gotten
actually a
it.
book I was going to buy. I'm not even doing 5e or
Yeah,
anything.
Mikey. I didn't get into it, Mikey, but these two guys were sharing pictures
seemed
from the
pretty
PDF
sweet.
back and forth, and it looked pretty interesting. So I would say,
And I love those kind. I love bestiaries.
and Steven is correct. Everything that I say, before I go on a show, Steven sends me a very lengthy script
Yes.
with additional notes for improvisational.
What songs he wants you to sing,
Right.
what fruits he
So
wants you to eat.
anything that I
Be
say,
negative here, Derek.
anything that I, that's right. Anything I
Yeah,
say
he
on his,
additionally annotates it.
anything I say on his channel that you may not agree with or you may find offensive,
Came from Steve.
it actually came from Steven.
He is writer and director.
Right, writer and directed. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of interesting games coming out. MCDM, Daggerheart.
I mean, I'll say this, you know.
I mean, we would be honored to throw our hat into the ring, and if somehow our community said, you know, and they help us make, you know, some sort of really cool game. But again, I want, if we make something, I want it to be like Daggerheart and MCDM will all be judged very harshly by me on the criteria of, does this do something that one of my 5,500 RPGs on my shelf behind me don't already do?
Correct.
Right.
And if it does, and it does it in a compelling and interesting way,
Cool.
then cool, you know. And there's very few, and you've seen it live, like on the channel. Like my reaction to Fabula Ultima was me being legitimately like, oh, this is something new. This is legitimately something new,
And well done.
and well done.
Yeah. You know, I've said this before early on when the whole OGL thing went down, and I continue to remain optimistic about this. I'm excited that we might be entering a new era of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, you know, 5e was just such a powerhouse. Like, you'd be completely insane to not go into that market. And if you're trying to do this for a living, make money off of it. But now with how that went down, you see all these new, like legitimately newer games of different designs coming out. It's still obviously very influenced by the market we're just leaving. But I'm really excited to see like actual new game development because, you know, it's probably been over 10 years. Like,
Yeah, if you were getting into this as a business,
yeah,
and you wanted to make a living, a career out of this, in the last couple of years,
yeah,
you
had to be 5e.
absolutely had to be 5e.
Yeah.
You know,
5e compatible.
I mean,
even you know,
Steve
Steve can
knows
roll for
this.
combat.
Yep.
Like you know, his whole channel is very critical of WotC, and you know, rightfully so. But like, you know,
they still make their
five
books.
ebooks.
They still make 5 ebooks.
Yeah.
You have
He's
to.
got to pay Mark. I mean,
Yeah,
so
right, exactly. So it's just a huge difference in audience. But
I think no, we are entering a new era now where we're going to see a lot more indie development get out there.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for that because
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I want to play something besides just 5e and Pathfinder.
well,
You know?
we look forward to bringing these games to you, to talking to you about them, maybe giving you glimpses into our home games, and certainly bringing more games to the channel that we get to play. If it was up to me, we'd be live streaming 2 or 3 times a week and doing actual plays, and you know, we'd be doing all that
I mean,
stuff.
if
so.
I didn't have a job,
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
then I would be spending time with my kids all day. Well, not all day, they're in school. But then I'd be like, I could play games every day.
No.
because you have chores.
No, during the day.
I do my chores during the
during the day when they're at school is when you would be playing.
Oh, good. So we would play during the day when they're in school because we wouldn't be working.
Right.
And I would play 7 days a week. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Or like 5 days a week. It'd be a job.
I mean, correct. You're right. So 5 days a week. And then I would see my kids all night.
All night.
My wife would be super happy.
All right. That would be
What about the chores?
The chores got to be done during the day too, I guess.
well, no, I mean, like, you know, the kids are getting older, so.
Game can't last 8 hours, can it?
Well, it depends. If maybe we're doing
Were
2
you
games.
listening to the first
Yeah,
part of this
yeah.
stream?
Right. So that's the goal. You know what? And maybe you all can make it happen. So
That's
all I
funny
need.
because then our vacations would be us doing NightCon, which is just more playing games.
So all I need for all of you to do to make Bob's dream a reality is I need for you all to find 100 of your closest friends and get all of them to join our Patreon.
Yes.
Okay? Because if you did that, our Patreon would go from 300 to 30,000 and then boom, we'd be in the money,
Glass
baby.
cannon. But for now, like and subscribe to the video and comment below.
Yes. And thank you, everybody, once again, for your incredible support of us over the last almost 3 years. 10,000 is a tremendous milestone. And, probably the next big one's probably like 50, halfway to 100. But, that'll be a long slog, and I can't make any promises that we'll ever get that
putting
big.
Tip goals up to kill the channel, we're never going to make it to 50.
Oh, no. See, that tip goal is just going to stay there
Always be in that corner?
until it gets filled. And then we're forced to.
That's it. The bomb started.
100K subs or delete channel. There is no binary, pass or fail. None of this PBTA, partial success
Back
bullshit.
to D20, our roots.
Matthew Keene says 9.999K. Who unsubscribed? Probably somebody just to be a troll. Like George.
It was George.
Thanks, George. He probably had.
See, right there. How close are you? Yeah, that's because he just unsubscribed.
Right. He already has like 17 burner accounts that are probably subscribed to the channel.
To be fair,
George
those
says it
are all of
wasn't
our
him.
viewers.
All right. Officially, we are at 9998.
Wow.
So sometime
we get one more.
by the time you're watching this on
and
the
only
VOD,
one more will become a permanent FU channel.
That's right. That's right. If we end at 99999.
That's funny. That's funny.
For that
actually.
one brief moment, we're Fabula Ultima only. No, you know what? If we stay at 999, I will play Final Fantasy 14.
Yes, you heard it here.
24/7. Well, then I'll just be a Final Fantasy 14 streamer.
They're like, wait, this is actually fun.
I'll
What's
be
wrong
like,
with
am I
this?
playing the award-winning Final Fantasy role playing?
You even know it's the meme. I'm so proud of you right now.
I do know the meme.
This is like the happiest I've been in so long.
ROC just unsubscribed. Now I need one more. You know what? That's all right. We lose people every day.
Yeah.
Look, no, the good news, Steven, is I only lose subs when I publish. So
That's right.
when I don't publish,
Tomorrow we'll gain.
well, no, when I don't publish a video, the only thing that YouTube shows people is my Pathfinder 2 combat and tactics videos or my all spells ranked. And then they watch that and they go, oh my God, I love this guy. They subscribe. It's when I post stuff and they're like, what the fuck is Fantasy Age?
Right.
And why is he talking about Fabula Ultima?
Yeah.
What is that?
What is
Who
that?
is this neckbeard and how do I unsubscribe?
Had a serious conversation today of like, should we cancel the stream so that we can hit 10K? Because when we stream and we talk, people leave.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, that's actually
But
true.
sometimes the best way forward is to go backwards.
Well, there was this one time where like you and I were both on vacation and you were busy with something.
And
so
I
like,
wasn't going to
it was like 4 or 5 days. We're just like, we weren't around. We weren't on the Discord. Like, I think it was the only time that ever happened where all 3 of us were gone. And like, we had all these new people join, our subscribers shot up. It was just like, oh man, when we're not like
That's right.
offending people, turns out, some of this content apparently is good.
Less is more. All right, everybody. We will be back on Thursday, joined by somebody. I'm not sure who, but we got some guest stars coming up over here for the next couple of weeks. And if you're not a patron and you missed it, we did do a kind of special Halloween session last Friday the 13th that we're going to be airing as we get closer to Halloween. Spoiler alert.
Wasn't spooky.
Not spooky.
For sure not spooky.
For sure not spooky. And so, so definitely look forward to that, to check that out. And we look forward to bringing you another 10,000 subs worth of material over the next couple of years.
Well, I mean, we'll probably be dead before then, but
That's
sure.
true. That yes, it's our sub growth has only slowed down. So by definition, by the time we get to 11,000, we should pretty much be fully plateaued. So, Luke Holland finally gets to see us live, and Luke, we're
turning off the stream.
But Luke, I appreciate it. We know that we have an audience all over the world, and some people can't get to us, and that's so funny, Luke. Yeah, sorry, buddy.
Well, look, if you really want to talk to Derek or anyone else here,
That's
just,
true.
Join the Patreon, and
Which he will be on literally after this ends.
and he will be on there probably till like 4 or 5 in the morning.
I do stay on there quite late, but again, I don't have kids and I don't have a
I'm
wife.
literally going to go home, go to bed. I wake up at 6 a.m. to work out.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
All right. Luke, I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for coming in here. I'm sorry that we missed you as you came in right at the end, but I love that you're here.
Yep.
Again, thanks you to each and every single one of you, especially to our patrons who have obviously taken that additional step above and beyond everything else that we do. They have made the personal success of the Knights of Last Call their personal duty. They have taken it upon themselves to support us.
We sure as hell weren't.
Right. Someone had to do it.
Someone had to do it.
Wasn't going to be me. So they went ahead and they've taken that burden upon themselves, and they continue to sort of amaze us every day with their candor, their grace, and their overall willingness to sort of explore. There's a couple of there's a couple of people in there who can sometimes grate me, but by and large, they're a good group. You know who you are. But luckily, Sinex Guy has been gone for a long time. So,
Sure.
Again, we have 350 patrons.
Yeah.
We've had about 700 come through the doors. About half the people have left for various reasons. We've only ever had to ban 2 people.
That's right.
And so for me, I think that's a pretty damn good record. So
That's right. Yeah. Great community.
so great community. So join, but only if you're not a dick.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, and also don't join if you like snacks.
Right. Also, if you're going to try to, he didn't even see it coming. All right. With that, we are going to end the stream. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Knights of Last Call. Bye, everybody. Peace.